show, and that is what happened in the news. We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news. We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
This is a news day. It's all over the country. It's been put together by grassroots organizers. It's very now. It doesn't feel like the 2017 version or the campaign of last year. It's addressing a lot of concerns about the current agenda, including we're seeing signs and protesters saying, James, this is not even what people voted for. Even if they are anti-Trump voters, they're calling out a lot of things that they say exceed the president's authority or are dangerous or are gutting of the federal government. What's happening here? What do you see?
What I see is something organic coming up from around the country. I don't think that there was a lot of organization. If you remember in 2017, you had like 1 million women on the mall. This is happening all around the country. So the question is, how should Democratic politicians respond to this? And what I think they should do is what we call in rural America, play possum. Just let it go. Don't get in the way of it. Or as we like to say, don't just stand there, do nothing. Let this germinate. We don't need to be, we don't need to get in front of it. This freight train is moving. Let's just get out of the way. And then we're going to have time. In the immortal words of Dalton in Roadhouse, be nice until it's time not to be nice. And that time is coming shortly.
We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
That was something. I am become meme. Yeah, pretty much. I'm living the meme. It's like there's living the dream and there's living the meme, and it's pretty much what's happening, you know. You're like. This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy. Chainsaw. That's perfect.
Hello, humans. I am Dan from the internet. This is the 20th of February, 2025. I feel like I've said 2024 in some previous intros, and no one's caught me on it. But anyways, it is 2025, unfortunately, year of our Lord. This is your Power Report, a show about who has power, who wants it, who needs it. Boy, are we going to be ideally demonstrating that tonight. And yeah, we've got a big show here. Joined by Bam, wonderful, basically the host of the show, and Satchi. If anyone's legally responsible for the show, it's Bam. Okay. No, yeah, Satchi, producer of the show. So if there's anyone legally responsible, no, I'm just kidding. I am gonna do the intro a little bit differently here. I will say, I have not gotten the call yet that I'm supposed to get for the host and the producer on the screen. So I'm looking into that, and I will just keep triaging that as I'm going. But that's okay, because we've got still most of what I wanted to get out of that, and plus plenty of domestic and international news. The thing I'm going to do kind of differently this time is that I just want to go through like a lot of the headlines that we have. Trump has decided to be dictator, which sounds like we've been doing this as like a, de facto thing, but he's literally said multiple times this week, like, oh no, yeah, I am a king. So that's definitely there. he has, confirmed Crazy Eyes Cash Patel. Of course, the House and Senate have confirmed, or the Senate rather has confirmed Crazy Eyes Cash Patel. 6,000 IRS employees have been fired. The government worker that was let go of Doge because he was discovered to have some really racist posts on the internet that were still like live and available there has been reinstated at your Social Security Administration. Speaking of Elon Musk and his, doggy style cohort have essentially gotten access to the Social Security Administration records after firing every single acting head who would deny them access, because why the fuck does Elon Musk need every Social Security number in America? Absolutely no reason. In lighter news, Mitch McConnell's staff has decided to, Mitch McConnell has announced that he's not running in 2026. Of course, if he runs for re-election, that's cool, and that'll be an interesting case. If he doesn't run for re-election, they wrote in a special rule to where the governor of South Carolina, I believe, or wherever, Kentucky, wherever he's from, the governor of that state gets to appoint his successor. It's literally a special rule written for Mitch McConnell. So, we love that. The least vaccinated county area of Texas is having a massive measles outbreak. I have no idea why that's happening. Kansas is moving to ban gender affirming care following a number of other different states that are, taking the lead from Donald Trump and doing the worst things that they can do possible right now. And an NFL punter I've never heard of before, because your boy doesn't do football, is probably my new favorite politician. We'll do some international news later. We've got Bolsonaro. We've got some climate updates. Where's my Dave Rubin clip?
Brain is still in recovery mode from taking in so many high-level important ideas.
Yeah. And of course, there's so much to go into with the Ukraine-Russia stuff. There's some stuff going on in, with the ever nascent Israel-Palestine situation. So, yeah. I think I want to start the show with headlines from now on, just to make sure we're covering, at least in a bare minimum, all the great work that Satchi, our producer, is doing. But also, I think that if I cover the headlines, I can stop doing the whole like, oh, how are you doing? We all suck, obviously, as if we haven't been talking the whole week. And I can really just like let my co-host just like jump in and be like, okay, which of those stories like really jumped out to y'all? And then we can just use that as a jumping point. So, my usual intro monologue was out on average. That being said, with that, how you're feeling, where you want to jump in, do the cold opens resonate? Bam, what are your thoughts?
You did a lot there. You said a lot. You said it fast.
Satchi, what are your thoughts? Apparently, Bam's brain is still in recovery mode from all of my high-level important ideas.
I'm still thinking about that chainsaw from Elon Musk. Okay, I mean that's a perfect summary of what's happening right now in our very least our political climate, if not our world climate. That's what it feels like. This is where we are. Somehow this is real life. I said it in the chat. Like somehow this is real life. This is not a parody. This is not some crazy ass satire that's being from a film. This is real life, and this guy's practically he feels like the president of the United States. He's not, but he feels like it. And
he de facto gets to be.
It's really crazy, like how many appearances Trump has done with Elon Musk at his side. Can you imagine if Biden or Obama was sitting next to George Soros or freaking somebody, Bill Gates? Like
that's it.
This is they already made George Soros the boogeyman. And like these people don't even know what he looks like. But imagine if Joe Biden.
I know he probably looks to be, of the religion that they all secretly hate.
Right. Imagine if he did one appearance with George Soros. It would be insane. And Trump is sitting next to Elon Musk multiple times, getting little boyed by him, and it's just, that's it right there. Like that's what it is.
His own son walked up to him on the press conference, like, and was just like, "You're shush, you're not the president," or whatever he was saying, right? Like, he was just like,
Yeah.
like, if you've been around kids that age, they just be repeating shit. And so there's like that clip that Christina friend of the show had shared about it was a Tucker Carlson interview where Elon Musk's kid X was we live in hell. Elon Musk's kid was like on the Tucker Carlson show and was like, I'm paraphrasing, but basically like, we're gonna own space and no one can do anything else about it, and does this like weird evil laugh thing. And I'm like, a 3-year-old doesn't say that normally, okay? A 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, whatever the fuck he is, he heard that from somewhere. He heard that from his dad. Because Grimes is not trying to go to space like that. so yeah,
apparently like save one of the kids' lives or something on Twitter.
Yeah, I was posting this like kind of subliminally throughout this. So like, as Elon Musk was, doing his Washington DC chainsaw massacre, and like CPAC, more on that later, okay? But as he was doing that, Grimes had done a little post and delete on Twitter, the Everything app, everything but the father of your son.
I'm sure she didn't delete it. I'm sure it got deleted.
She says, "Please respond about our child's medical crisis. I am sorry to do this publicly, but it is no longer acceptable to ignore the situation. This requires immediate action. If you don't want to talk to me, you can please designate or hire someone who can so that we can move forward on solving this. This is urgent, Elon." Literally, the dude was with the Argentinian poverty warlord that is Javier Milei, and he was wearing the sunglasses the way that I know San Francisco tech bros do when their eyes are dilated because they're on, microdosing acid or ket. And listen, I can't say that if I were at a convention just having a good time that I'm necessarily above that, but I will say, and because I'm like that, I'm like, no, I know what you're doing.
There's only one outcome.
Thing, one sentence, I promise. Elon Musk, through the Grimes thing, let's just drive that all home. Elon Musk chose ketamine, maybe acid, maybe some other sort of mix of substances or whatever, and doing performative self-indulgent stunts at CPAC over his son, his human shield, might I add. Bam, go ahead. Sorry.
There's only one outcome that can be good from this situation, and it's gonna sound harsh if I say it, so I'm not. But if that was to happen, maybe people would stop idolizing him in the way they do. Like,
I'll say it if you want me to, Bam. If that kid passes away, that's what you're saying. Like,
if that happens and Grimes is like, look, like, this is what needed to happen, so this child wouldn't, what Satchi said, and the Satchi's address number.
Allegedly.
Like, we need
it's
something.
Okay, Elon, you already know his social security number. We're fine.
Right. We need these people to get knocked down by life. You know what I mean? Like, if that was to happen, now I'm sure he could spin it somehow and blame her, and people hate women a lot. So, and she had the Coachella debacle, so I'm sure it could even be really bad for her. But
I will say, I've seen Grimes as a DJ set after the whole Elon Musk situation. I'm like, she can DJ, all right? I give her that. She can throw down in a European club, all right? I give her that. But I dislike her very strongly for everything else. I don't think she's worth anyone's political consideration.
But here's the thing, Bam. I'll push back against that, because even if that were to happen, I think he's done so many extreme things already that have rather directly or indirectly resulted in people they're going to die as a result of it.
I don't know either, but sorry, kid. You got to get sacrificed, little guy. Sorry. You know, join all the other ones. We're trying to bring you dad down.
Yeah, I do not really have a lot. Yeah, I've already said my piece about that. I think, you know, if I will jump into that, I don't think that Elon, you know, it's sort of, I compare that sort of idea to Donald Trump, and it's like, oh, once he does something so unchristian, it's like, dude, he's already the grab him by the P word guy. Like, there's no way that these people, like, Christians ain't all that Christian. Breaking news in America, especially in America, right? Like, they know where their bread is buttered, and they care about power more than Jesus and God. Mm-hmm. They care about power more than Jesus and God, period, end of sentence, right? And so always have, always will, especially when they're white in this country. And so, you know, Christian nationalism is one nation under God. Look at a dollar bill next time. Like, look at a 20, a 5, or whatever. Like, it's been deep in there. And kind of the fact that you have one nation under God on money is very poetic right now, because you're seeing what fascism looks like in America, and the fascism not only is already here, but has always existed. This connection between government and big business, and this symbiotic relationship where we will tax businesses less, tax other people more, whether directly through taxes or, you know, their social services are cut. And so, okay, if grandma no longer has Social Security, grandma, with all of her pre-existing conditions, bless her soul, now gets to apply for Blue Cross Blue Shield or Cigna, right? And we all know how that's going to end up, okay? You know, social, not entitlements, earned benefits, things that any American, even undocumented Americans, pay into, things like Social Security. These are people who want to take that out and, you know, replace it with tax cuts for people who can afford rockets to fly into space, right? People who can afford to throw their own cars into space for fun. And so I don't think that there's going to, like, you know, having dealt with the cult of Elon Musk, even before Elon Musk realized that, like, the Republican Party is his favorite cult now, they have been so primed on, you know, white nationalism, false meritocracy, the model minority stereotype, all these other, you know, sociological phenomena that we know of as blue-haired leftists, right? Who, like, read shit sometimes. There's a base of people who are, like, Elon Musk fans, who are also MAGA fans. It's a really good overlap with this, where the contradictions don't matter. In fact, the contradictions are good for them. And so that's why, if I could go a little bit further, you'll notice in World War II, there were no real peace talks with the Nazis, all right? We're like, no, we don't do peace with the Nazis. You eliminate them. So you make an example, so that if the Nazis try to come up again, it's like, oh, you know what we did to y'all last time, right? like, you know, like, all our grandpas have Nazi memorabilia because they went over to Germany and stomped feet over there, right? Let's get real about American history. And it's like, an old version of me would have made an American jingoistic point about, like, how America fought Nazis, but, like, you know, I think that was more the exception than the rule, frankly, if I really critically look at it.
Oh, no, for sure. Because there was a lot of powerful people in America that supported Hitler. Like,
oh yeah, Father John Copland was, like, the biggest pundit at the time, like a radio show, like basically a Glenn Beck, Jesse Waters, you know, that kind of guy. And he was Catholic too. Father John Kaplan,
Right.
I believe. But yeah, like he was spewing off all this Catholic stuff too. Like Catholic religious extremism tied with fascism and
Yeah.
support of these fascist ideas. So yeah, it's always been there. I think World War II, we have so much thought about that, but all of it's been gone amazingly by the conservatives who are all like, rah, look at what we did. America's number one. We rebuilt the world, etc. Right? But once Republicans in America there's an arguable opinion that the right in America always knew that Hitler was right? But like once they realized that they could go, oh no, Hitler is right, and that's how we can win politics in America, they hit the gas on it. And they found easier ways to do it. Like I always quote the Lee Atwater thing of like, okay, you can't say N-word, N-word, N-word. So you have to say forced busing. You have to say taxes. You have to say these other things that appeal to the people who just want to scream N-word, N-word, N-word. But polite society and the hippies and the Jews won't let you do that anymore. So I'm not saying that's my own opinion. Like that's Republican, very well established dogma.
Right. Yeah. I think that obviously it's a little bit different, but yeah, it's otherizing, different parts of the population, making them the enemy within, and using that to energize the majority population. And I think we saw the Republican Party of like John McCain and Mitt Romney. They didn't really play into that as much, but Trump played into it 100%, and he really energized the majority population of this country in a way that, like basically not since Reagan. Like he's the face of racism and misogyny. So that's why people like him a lot.
I mean, you got the official White House account on Twitter tweeting out a video of as what they called ASMR deportation, and it's just like ASMR noises of like chains that are used to lock up migrants, and they're like saying how soothing this is. Like that's the kind of thing that we're getting now from the official White House account on Twitter.
Wasn't there like a Valentine's Day deportation?
Yeah. And the Trump is king thing. They're running with everything that he's doing, and it's just a 21st century version of social. And that makes it even more dangerous, of course, is now it's a lot more widespread now that they have that digital access. So,
that I like. That ultimately is what people voted for. Like that's what a lot of American citizens were are excited about. That like, I think it might seem like what Trump is doing is extreme, but there are millions and millions of people in this country that support that wholeheartedly, and probably most of those people would amend the Constitution so he could be president next time too.
Yes. I have to do some I have to produce more than host right now, but I'm gonna set us off on a thing. So I think this will be good. So there's been like an ongoing record of all of the people who have like been laid off by Doge, like in all of the institutions that have been hit. There's been this thing people have been hearing a lot about probationary layoffs, and the Elon Musk people are like, oh, well, they're on probation, so they're probably not good at their job. So of course you lay them off. Like whatever, that's just waste. Probationary is honestly an employer power thing, right? Where they can strip you of your benefits, they can strip you of the other things like outside of your compensation, and oftentimes part of your compensation, that allow you to be a worker. And a lot of these things times happen when you just got hired into the government, you just got some type of security clearance. They want to feel you out a little bit, make sure you're not that wild, not Dan. There's also some bits where people have been working for the government for 2, 5, 10, 20 years, and they're being promoted. And in their promotion, they get a new role, but the first 3 months, 6 months, whatever, are a probationary period. And so, yeah, you're talking about people who, and there's like a really famous story of there's been a lot of famous stories, unfortunately, about long time, decades long federal workers. It's not just tenure, it's 10 years, more than that these federal workers have been working. And they've just been told, sorry, you're let go. You've been believed to be, insufficient or, not performing well enough. There are people who printed out their firing letters they got sent from essentially Doge, and they show them to their direct bosses. And it was that's bullshit. I gave you a flying colors performance review last quarter. There's no reason you should be fired, and you do a very essential job. So yeah, there's deferred resignation. There's the probationary layoffs. There's the education department, which has only been 39 people so far have been fired from. Which is just okay, go woke. The departments of Veterans Affairs has been cut. The Energy Department has been cut. The Department of Health and Human Services has been cut. The FDA has been cut. Notably, the FDA was looking into bird flu, the real reason why egg prices are up. Also, bird flu is transferring from birds to other animals on farms, such as cows, such as the pets of the farmers, such as dogs and cats, such as the family of the farmers. Bird flu is transmitting to people. 70, we're all animals. 70 people, I think, so far in America, and it's fucking number's gonna go up apparently, have contracted bird flu. Human beings. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the corrupt bureaucrats at the checks notes Consumer Financial Protection Bureau have been ordered to stop protecting consumers. The Federal Aviation Administration, there's a plane crash today in Arizona that happened at an airport where there was no funding to have the FAA flight tower staffed and manned.
The tower just empty.
Just a guy say, good luck, you're on your own, figure it out, let's talk later.
Y'all have radar, fuck it.
Hello? Hey, it's AI, it's Siri.
It's my favorite Boondocks joke of, hello, 911 emergency? Yeah, I'll hold.
No, but on the real on that, I just read an article.
I'll be right back. But, keep going on just the whole, all this stuff happening. But I need to figure out.
It goes without saying, but FAA controllers are saying this is literally making not only our jobs terrible, but making this guy's obviously a lot more dangerous. Now it seems like it's a daily thing where you're seeing a plane crash here, a plane crash there, plane crash in Toronto, a plane crash in, thankfully nobody died in that plane crash, but still, it's just obviously in the open that these changes are being made because they want the least amount of eyes on their corruption as possible. And it's clear as day.
Yeah, and it seems like Elon specifically, I think it's obvious that he got people out of the way that were investigating him. And I think the unfortunate thing is you can tell people this till you're blue in the face. It doesn't really hit oh, this guy was under investigation and he got into this position. He fired the people that are investigating him. Sadly, that doesn't really work for people politically. It's
mm-hmm.
they already stopped listening. You know what I mean? But they're Elon and these other people. They're just they're trying to secure that federal money for themselves, And I think that Trump and like, I don't know, it's just really weird, like seeing them sitting next to each other like that. I'm just like, this guy is not like, he's just a guy, actually. Like, what? Like he just showed up, started like giving Trump a handy, whatever happened behind closed doors, like, and now he's like right there. It is just so crazy to me. I'm like, the optics of the president sitting next to a billionaire in the Oval Office, and the billionaire dude is just answering all the questions and taking command. And then, oh, we're going to sit with Hannity. Like, what is, like, how Manchurian candidate does Trump look to people? Like, at least with first term, you know, he can play strongman and stuff. Like, you know, I'm calling the shots, but it's like Elon is his handler. That's how it looks to me. I don't know if that's what other people are like. I wonder what the Trump people, like the MAGA dudes, like, what are you seeing?
The thing is, that's what $250 million from one source does. I think throughout election cycles, we've been so used to like, oh, a couple million here from this person, a couple million there from that person. But from one singular person, that was Elon saying, all right, I'm running the show now. You're going to listen to me. And that's what it was. And also when he had, what was it, the $100 million or whatever, or $1 million I'll give to the voters, the $100 million thing. When you do that openly, you can get away with it because it's, like you said, people aren't moved by that. But when you do that and you appeal to that base, those MAGA voters, they hear that and they're like, okay, I don't care if this guy's from here, you know, illegally and he's coming, you know, just jumped on the ship from, you know, wherever he came from. That's my guy. I'm going, he's going to give me money. That's what I wanted. That's what at least that's what he's selling me. He's not going to do that actually, but that's what he's selling me. So I think it's, again, it comes down to being sold on something that's not there, but it's the con man job. And they're both great at being con men, and they're showcasing that. But you're right. Elon really is just showing that this is his White House now. And there's something like, it's insane, but that's where we're at.
It's insane.
I just want to add that, like, we're really, like, this isn't, it's insane, but if you pay attention to the way these tech guys have talked about the world, these people who, through a lot of government support, have become titans, oligarchs, they speak of the same government that has given them all of the support and all of the structure as though it is the thing impeding human progress, right? I'm a big, one of the most transformational books I ever read was Mariana Mazzucato. She's a political economist, and she wrote a book called The Entrepreneurial State. And I like to give it to my curious enough Republican friends who have been given that dogma of like, oh, government's inefficient and it's really private sector does it. It's like, no, let's go through history. Through the government, we got the space. Through the government, we got the internet. Through the government, we got so many different like little innovations, really minor stuff you don't even think about. And that is because, you know, innovation is not exclusive to the private sector or the public sector. I mean, we saw what happened with DeepSeek and how, okay, every company is owned by China, all right, but OpenAI got mollywopped on a fucking potato compared to like all the billion-dollar data servers they're buying, all right? But I think this thing is that like the ideology that exists within Silicon Valley, and you've seen this, it's very like, you know, crypto and libertarian, but it's the sense that you are not in control, right? Like you have no, like you as a citizen, you don't have control because you don't deserve it. We're going to give it to these tech billionaires because they know so much better about how to do things. And it goes to like, you know, there's no rules, there's no taxes. These things that are just like, if these billionaires took a civics course, they would immediately know, oh no, that's stupid. I can't do that. That's crazy. But because they haven't, and because so many people have, no thanks to the Department of Education, it's mostly like, state governments, if they do exist, to do this, right? Like, they've taken civics courses and they're just like, no, none of this makes sense. None of this cuts muster. And they thrive, to conclude, like, they thrive off of taking over companies and just turning everything off to figure out what needs to be turned on. And it's a weird way to think about people's livelihoods, to be like, okay, I'll fire you, but if I realize after the fact that your job was important, I'll hire you back. Like again, it's a very robotic, yes input, no input way of viewing people with families, livelihoods, children's, etc. Right? And this is how tech and private equity, a fucking CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald just got appointed to be Commerce Secretary, I believe, right? Like, we're running, like, they are running this. The people who are unapologetically evil looters of the government, frankly, are running this. And they're using a strategy that they have perfected in the private sector. And they're just, they don't need to realize that in the public sector they're wrong, right? They just need to, break enough things to justify the tax cuts they're going to try to pass in April or May.
It sounds like those two consultant guys from Office Space just running the government, like showing up to the government, like, hey, so what do you do here again? Like, and I would imagine they're going to go to like all the people of color first, but it's literally like that, like, and then maybe we'll bring you back, but and it's, I guess it's some like 19-year-old racist before it was cool guy doing it.
Absolutely. I want to read some comments first, and then Satchi, I want to let you get your take, and then I've got some explaining to do very promptly. But yeah, let's see. I'm reading through some comments here. Good to see some folks. Christina said she did her first debate lord panel and almost won. Good. I can't wait to send us that. I want to see you. I hope it wasn't one of those Jubilee videos, but that's great. Pinkerbell said Grimes needs to sue for full custody yesterday. I mean, you married Elon Musk. Like, you had a baby with Elon Musk. All right. Like, there's so many steps along the line, even at the time when that was happening, that should have been red flags to like any normal woman. You were following money and fame. You got cooked. I have no sympathy for Grimes. Anti-corporatist joking. Suing the richest man in the world is problematic. BCat saying he's literally using their child as a way to normie wash him and have him in the presence of a man with 2 assassination attempts. I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. I'm gonna, crip walk around a little bit, but like, there is a Republican thing where, like, as long as Donald Trump smiles when his granddaughter is speaking approvingly of him at the RNC, then he's a family man. Never mind never mind all of the assault charges that have been adjudicated in court, not in Trump's favor. He's a family man because he's willing to do the laws that, push the button for these right wingers, apparently. So
never mind all the creepy stuff he said about Ivanka. Overly creepy.
Stuff
incestuous.
Yeah. I don't even want to repeat it because it's just like really disgusting. Going through some other things. Yeah, Satchi, did you have any like thoughts on this before I go into? We'll go to Hakeem Jeffries after this, which will lead into everything, right?
Not really. Let's get to it. I'm ready to rumble.
All right. So, I'll be honest. I've been a little triggered lately. I'm having a moment. Warpath Dan is back. And like I said, when I was going hard against TYT last year,
we do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
Never mind. They spent today with Anna Kasparian ranting 30 minutes about Emma Vigland. Literally her
On the show?
on the show.
Jesus.
Remind
we do
you.
a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
By name?
Yes, and Sam Cedar. And I'm like, listen, I love.
Oh my God.
I worked really closely with Emma Vigland. I really, in a most platonic way, personal. I love that person, right? Emma Vigland is not news today. There's nothing about Emma Vigland that is newsly relevant. And if you have a 2-hour show, I can't even justify talking about Emma Vigland for the amount of time I've talked about her just now. Right? Like, it's just ridiculous. Nevertheless, they spent that whole time doing it. I'm not going to talk about TYT anymore. But let's just say my Warpath has now applied towards real issues because this is Power Report.
We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
I couldn't help myself. But my Warpath has been on, some of the things that Ken Klippenstein has been doing a lot of work on, also a former co-worker of mine at TYT. And the Democrats, there's two problems with the Democrats that are kind of happening at the same time. One is they're feckless and weak. Two is that they're old and decaying. And great example from Congressman John Larson, who was like, okay, I'm a Democrat. I'm a politician. I'm a tenured politician. I know what people want. So I have seen the anger and the frustration and the scaredness that my constituents and people all over the country have had. And I know in this constitutional crisis moment that this is the perfect way for Democrats to #resist. Let's play the clip.
I encourage everyone to write the president and to write the agency and say,
it's a little quiet. So he says, I encourage everyone to write the president letters. I'm adding the word letters.
write the agencies and say, this is not.
And to write the agencies that Elon Musk is taking over, which, by the way, you can't email because they're not allowed to email people or else they get fired.
This is your private data.
And so it's just like, okay, they're robbing you at gunpoint. Pretty much. Like, Elon Musk's private security just got government clearance detail, right? They're robbing Americans at gunpoint. And elected Democrats, many elected Democrats, especially the ones with seniority, especially the ones with power, the ones you would presume in this fucked up system that they've got are leaders. These elected Democrats are saying, if someone holds a gun to your head, write them a letter and tell them that you don't like that.
By the way, I just wanted to point out, this is not his fault. I don't want to make it seem like I'm making anything of it, but this very same John Larson a week before had a medical episode on the floor and his speech stopped for like a minute and a half. And then he went back to speaking. Same guy, just saying.
Yeah. There have been a lot of state and local legislatures who have just been having, in a rare moment of Warpath Dan politeness, let me just call them senior moments. Yeah. Bam.
Wait, he stopped talking for a minute and they just waited for him to continue?
They waited for him to finish. He was trying to regain his speech.
Mitch McConnell was 404ing like a couple months ago. We all forget, but he was just standing there and just going the dial-up noise, he was just loading and not the Apple spinning pinwheel. I think there's a state legislature somewhere in the South he was a Republican, to be fair, but this goes to the gerontocracy thing. But he just collapsed. He just fucking collapsed in the middle of a floor session. And he just fell over. And it took about 10-15 seconds for other people to go oh, he might be dead now. And they ran over to help him. So there's a lot going on here with the gerontocracy, but the main point is that these people are not prepared for the situation. Schumer, Here's a clip that Senator Schumer, it's formulated to work on social media. It's vertical, it's on TikTok. He's doing the whole trick where you hold something in your hand because that grabs people's attention. Sorry to give out game for free, but maybe I should just do the show with my vape from now on. And like I'll get like 3 more viewers. But I mean, win-win for me. But like here's Chuck Schumer telling you that, okay, a rapacious billionaire has all of your personal information and the president let him do it. This is how you should respond as an American citizen, a country that prides itself on defending itself from a tyrannical government. Let me just put it like that.
Today began the long budget process, and it became very clear what the #1 goal of the Republicans is: to give their billionaire buddies a tax break and have it be on your back. We Senate Democrats are going to expose them. We're going to lift up the curtain and show that everything else they do is to help hide the fact that their billionaire buddies are going to get a tax
Honk
break.
shoe.
Why does Donald Trump talk about the Gulf of America and putting hotels in Gaza and annexing Canada? He wants to hide the fact from you that their main goal, what they're really pursuing on the floor of the Senate, is giving their billionaire buddies a tax break. Is that crazy? Is that ridiculous? These people are very rich. The veteran who needs health care isn't very rich. The elderly person who's in a nursing home isn't very rich. These billionaire buddies are rich already. And yet all they want to do is give them another tax break. Shame, shame, shame. We're going to fight it tooth and nail.
Thoughts?
I mean, he's right. I mean, I don't know what he's right. I mean, I don't.
Great, Bam. What is he doing? That was a nice TikTok video. What the fuck is he doing?
I mean, I don't know what Chuck Schumer can do with the Republicans having the House and the Senate and the president.
I don't know what a party can do when you don't have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, other than what the Republicans did when when Barack Obama, the other dictator who just tried to give people cheaper healthcare, when Barack Obama was in office and Democrats and Democrats held the House and the Senate, and they were still able to play the Mitch McConnell strategy, quote, direct quote, "Our plan is to make Obama a one-term president," end quote. We're going to obstruct him. We're going to make up random laws. We're going to make up. It's like, oh, sorry. You didn't know about the Mitch McConnell gambit? You're not allowed to appoint a Supreme Court judge in an election year. I just fucking made that up. But like, that's the Mitch McConnell gambit. # suck it. Like, there's a lot of stuff. I did not know about the parliament. I did not know the parliamentarian existed. I'm a political nerd. I did not know the parliamentarian existed until the Democrats use it as their own excuse to not raise the minimum wage from $7.25 an hour, where workers in a lot of states who are servers get paid $2.25 an hour. Okay. And Democrats are like, well, sorry, it was the parliamentarians, so we can't literally put more money in every single American's pockets. And I'm like, Chuck Schumer, can you show the balls you did that you had to not raise the minimum wage and show those balls right now towards Donald Trump? Because literally, Mitch McConnell gave you the strategy, dumbass. Mitch McConnell gave you the entire strategy of how to obstruct a president in the minority. You just make shit up. You make up rules. You just clog the machine. That's all you're there. Chuck Schumer and a lot of the Democrats, and I will hold my smoke for later, but a lot of these Democrats have a lot more smoke to clog up the machine for progressives than they are showing right now for Republicans. That is a red line, do not pass go, do not collect $200 type thing for me. That has brought me onto my warpath. I have more. I will let y'all go.
Okay. That is the third interruption. I'm going to start counting now. I'm going to say this. What Chuck Schumer said right then, I agree with. Trump's been president for a month. Right now, it's been a bunch of executive orders and different things gotten held up in the court, in the courts. But I will say that they also have the Supreme Court. So I don't know. Hopefully we can get Republicans to raise the minimum wage. Why can't they do it? Don't Republican voters want the minimum wage raised?
No, they don't. No, they don't. They just want the DE-iggers to not be in government anymore.
Okay.
They don't want the minimum wage to be raised because they're like, oh, I'm too good for. I'm gonna hold my tongue. There's a lot of minimum wage Republican voters who think they're too good for minimum wage, and so they don't care about that because it's okay. I'm gonna be a millionaire next month. It doesn't matter. I don't need minimum wage.
I actually disagree with that. There's a lot of Republican voters that are poor and they know they're gonna die poor, and so
they don't fucking vote like it. I know they know that, but like,
that's for me. That's the question. That's what we're dealing with. To me, more than Chuck Schumer.
Listen, I agree with you, right? Like, but maybe it's too many online political arguments. Maybe it's that time in 2017 where I pretended to take Ben Shapiro in good faith for an entire year and drove myself crazy and realized that, like, a fucking course not, right? Like, I think that there is, and Bam, I'm just using your words against you here. I get to agree, right? Like, you said ad nauseum on this entire show. We've been doing this hoe for 5 years now. The grievance politics is the point, right? Like, it goes back to Lee Atwater. It's just N-word, N-word, N-word. They find new phrases like forced busing or, school choice or CRT or critical race theory, DEI, whatever. N-word, N-word, N-word. That's just what it is. That's what motivates the politics. It's the same reason Bam schooled me on this. We're probably never going to get universal health care in this country because that's going to require white people to vote for poor Black people to get health care. And white people have convinced poor Black people to believe that if you believe healthcare is a human right, then that also means that you're forcing people to provide healthcare coverage or, healthcare services. Therefore, the government is overreaching, just like they do with, taxes and building roads and shit. And so therefore, you have to throw away the entire idea of having a healthcare system in the richest country of the world that at least is like fucking Azerbaijan's, right? Like, at least it's like fucking Poland's healthcare system, right? Like, we're not asking for much and we have enough money to do it better. We just have so many people who are close enough to power who want to capitalize off of the struggle and this, we have medical debt because there's at least 3 people in this country who make money off of Americans having medical debt. I think that's my 4th time interrupting you, but
I'll just say this and then I'll let Satchi say.
Sorry. My last point is that because I didn't finish the actual thing I want to address, honestly. I will call that 4 because I did let Bam finish the other time. But my last point is that I can't help Republicans. That is a thing that, like, an ass whooping is only going to fix for some people. Like, ass whooping and death and just being overtaken is only going to fix these Republicans, right?
The voters, you mean, or the politicians?
Some of the voters, yes. Some of the voters and definitely the politicians. But so my point is like, okay, let's accept this as a fact. That this is how Republicans are. We know it. This is the data. This is the strategy. Not all Republicans, Bam. I know you want to defend your white girlfriend or whatever on Black History Month, but it's fine. A lot of Republican voters, they believe that if they step on a crack and break their mother's back, it's because of a liberal DA. Right? So, like, you can't save that. You can only save that by letting them die. They meet an untimely demise. Or you just run over them and railroad them with politics where, like, they can't hate you anymore because they have their needs met. Okay. So, like, I can definitely give smoke to Republicans, but that's fucking boring. Like, it's blue in the face. We know what they're doing. It's stupid. We're going to do it. We have a 3-hour show. We can definitely do it. Who's fighting for me? Who are the people that I went on this show and I've been on shows like this for 10 years saying, oh yeah, the Republicans are Satan, but Democrats, the Democrats are Satan, but Republicans are Lucifer. So, like, you got to vote for the lesser of two evils. Like I am not fully that Brianna Joy Gray like person at this point, but like I've become very black pilled to the sense of, you know, Republicans deserve more smoke than Democrats, right? Like on this show for this audience, I can change the minds of liberals and turn them further left, and to realize that we can't rely on these Democrats, or at least we can't rely on a group of people who are, you know, not willing to fight for you, not willing to advocate for the things you, not willing to take votes on the things that they ran on. Right? Like, there's a certain point where it's like, yeah, there's two bad things over here. It's my old saying. Republicans hate you, Democrats fail you. So I got time for both. And honestly, I know that my words convince Democrats more than they convince Republicans. We can disagree on that, but that's my take and that's my stance on that. And
you said a million things. What do you mean disagree on what? I can't even respond.
Okay, keep up, bitch. Like, I'm sorry, but like my main point is that like you're saying that you're basically implying that we should be attacking Republicans more than Democrats. I'm saying on this show, we're doing both. Yeah. In general, yes, but I have time on my show. And I know that if I critique Republicans, no Republican's gonna be moved by that, right? No Republican is gonna be convinced by a black queer man on a screen and his friends to do anything, right? But I can convince liberals. I can convince liberals that they are, to quote the film, mad as hell and not gonna take it anymore.
Well, okay.
That's what I spend my time on.
So you're saying that you can like, if you're already saying the Democrats are terrible, like who is waiting for a Democrat to fight for them? Like that like my thing is like, it's just, I'm like, I don't know who is waiting for the Democratic Party or Democrats to fight for them. I don't think anybody in our chat is waiting for that. But at this moment in time, the Republicans are in power and people voted for them. And I don't know why we can't demand stuff from Republicans too. Like,
when's the last time a Republican listened to you, nigga?
Well, okay, so and you said the Lee Atwater thing, like, so what we're saying is like, what I'm saying is like, this strategy has worked for ever since America's been around. Like literally ever since America's been around and people voted, there are people voting against their interests against people like us. That's the issue. Like, that's the issue. I think you could convince somebody who is voted Republican, especially nowadays. I think you could.
Let me be clear.
No,
I agree.
No, you're not getting the sixth time right now. Not yet. I think you could. I think that you could. And I think that, whatever, I'm going to just say it. This is like what you don't say as a leftist online. I think it's a waste of time to attack Democrats at this time because the Republicans have the House, the Senate, the presidency, the Supreme Court, and those people fucking voted for him. They voted for him. All these people, not in Africa, over there, they voted for it, dude. Like we got to address that. I don't believe that they just voted against the Democrats. I don't believe that these people would vote for a Democrat if they were more left. I don't believe that. I think it's bullshit. I think they voted for the right because they wanted to, and they worship Trump because he's more right wing than those other Republicans. And I think that's what we got to address. I think there's a cultural issue we got to address. And I think that you can do it. I think you can. If some fucking Andrew Tate listener, loser, fuckboy who like happened to vote for Trump, who's not like some, octogenarian Republican voter, I think that that person can be convinced. But I feel, and I'm just going to say it, you can take me off the screen if you want. I think that when we on the left put so much focus on Democrats at this time, we're just pushing that guy further to the right. That's what I believe. But that's me. I'm a centrist or something, or I'm a shit lib or something. But that's what I believe.
Satchi?
All right. Look, I do like. We need to have been. I don't think anybody's saying we don't need to have heat for the Republicans right now. They are in charge, but at the same time, it's extremely frustrating when you're told time and time and again, this is the most important election of your lifetime. And then during that most important election of your lifetime, when you have House progressives who are fighting for their seat, you have Democrats openly launching campaigns against them because, let's just face it, AIPAC told me to, right? The thing is, the reason why, at least for me personally, I come around Democrats a lot more now, especially, is because they have fed you this time and time again. In order to stop fascism, Trump is a fascist, we have to stop him, right? But they play the exact same system as Republicans do. They'll still take the phone call from a multi-billionaire versus a phone call from the constituent first, right? Because that's what they need. They need their lobbying cash, and then they both shake the same hands of the same donors, the same corporate interests, but they try to tell us they're not. Like Chuck Schumer in that video, the reason why I could poke a hole in Chuck Schumer's argument by saying, listen, let's look at your campaign finance summary. Let's talk about that. You're not doing the exact same thing. You're not doing the exact same thing that you're telling me directly into video. These rich buddies, that's why Nancy Pelosi refused to vote on a ban on congressional stock trading, which is the basic thing. If you can't overturn Citizens United, at least try to ban congressional stock trading. And guess who's against it? Nancy Pelosi all this time, right? It's these establishment Democrats who are, for example, Hakeem Jeffries. One of his strategies after the election was, who did he talk to first? Afterwards, as a winning strategy for 2026, let alone 2028, he was talking to Silicon Valley investors and be like, how do we get these guys back on our side? He wants to get the Elon Musks back on our side, right? It's not about the people. It's not about everyday Americans actually talking about their needs. It's how do we appeal once again to the corporate class? 82 billionaires supported Kamala Harris, right?
Apparently it's important. Apparently it's important because one of those guys won the election for Trump.
But at the same time, it's a continual, it's a facade that you put on. And I think it's the performative stuff that's really just driving people crazy at this point. Like, I don't need to have you go on TikTok or social media and tell me how bad things are. Like the entire election cycle, we're told Trump is Hitler, Trump's a neo-Nazi, Trump's a fascist. And then every single interview, Biden will be like, "Oh, I'll be at peace as long as I give it my all. If I lose, no, that's not the energy you need to have. It's if you're running the race, right?"
But Satchi, are you having the same worries now that you would be having in a Kamala presidency?
Well, no. Okay. But at the same time,
that's all I'm saying. It's America. It ain't perfect. It ain't perfect. It's a shitty. We're coming off shit. We're coming off. We don't. No, hold on. We don't deserve some progressive paradise in this country just yet, because we have a lot of people that still have the mentality of a Civil War Confederate soldier.
That's true. That's true. But here's the thing. I'm going to go back to 2016. I'm going to go back a little bit in time. Back to 2016, when we had the first birth of Trumpism in politics. Well, not the first. He ran back. But anyways, the big rise of MAGA.
See also Reconstruction.
Hillary Clinton's freaking campaign strategy was to prop this guy up during the primaries like a freaking moron. And we don't talk about that enough. It's the same during the 2020 midterms. It's during the 2020 midterms. They were literally propping up right-wing neo-fascists because they thought, oh, these guys would be easy beatable. Some of them are sitting in Congress right now.
They thought too good of America. That's why they had the wrong idea.
And then to ask Kamala Harris, do you think America's a racist country? Oh no, I don't think. I think it's perfect, but it's no longer a racist country, right? She does not know. I would be a lot more refreshing if she was brutally honest about it and said, "Listen, America's a racist ass country, and this is what's happened."
Okay,
That would
she
be
would have lost
refreshing.
another state. She would have just
And
lost another state.
Bam, you're smart, but you're smarter than this analysis, and here's why. Because
That's offensive. That's offensive, actually. But we'll talk about that after, because that's offensive.
I'm sorry.
I would never question your intelligence, Dan. That's offensive. That's offensive.
I'm sorry.
And disrespectful.
And on Black History Month, it's bad. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No. I don't mean, again, I'm saying that because
Dan, please take it back, because that's disrespectful. We get on here and we joke around, but I don't question your intelligence. I think you're very intelligent, and I hope that you think I'm intelligent too.
I think you're intelligent too. I do think you're intelligent. And what I said just now was not meant to question your intelligence. It is that I think there's some more information you need to open up to. And I know once you open up to it, we'll be close to the same page.
I disagree with that, but go ahead. I think I'm pretty informed, but you can think that I'm not. Continue.
Okay, you're the person who deleted social media, who like proudly says that you don't pay attention to any of these people, and like that's a good perspective to have. But that's also, bam, let me finish now.
Okay,
the number one thing I did not question.
Continue.
I did not question your intelligence. I did not question your intelligence.
The
fundamental premise is you're saying that America voted for this person. There are more people who just simply did not vote than voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Okay. And my project is that I think that there are more gettable voters, non-voters, than there are people who voted for Trump, or this weird like Trump, Romney, Obama, Clinton, Bush, Biden voter that the legacy media always focuses on. I think the pay dirt is with non-voters. And so, to your point, Bam, just now, I'm not sure what Democrat does it. I'm not sure if Nancy Pelosi does it, but I think that for some Democrats, it's fine to just say, like, I will say my take, and maybe it's wrong, whatever. But if Kamala broke with the Democratic Party and was like Earl Sweatshirt, free Gaza, we on them corner like Israelites, you would have gotten non-voters. You would have gotten the Muslims who are being, chastised in Michigan right now, and Trump is being blamed on them, right? You would have gotten them. I think my political mission is that the Democratic Party tries to focus on winning Republican votes, and I think the mission is to win non-voters. I think it's to motivate people who are just like, I hate the system. It's the people to motivate the cynicism you're describing, Bam, to be like, I know that there's only so much this country can do. We're not going to become a progressive country overnight. But also, there is no party in power that is saying, well, wait, what if we became a progressive country overnight? My last point is that, like, you talk to so many conservatives to this day, and they're like, I would have voted for Bernie Sanders. And maybe to grant your point, Bam, and again, I'm sorry, if I implied at all that you're not the smartest person on that show, I take that back. All right,
okay,
but
you're being
Republicans,
you're being condescending, but go ahead.
I talk to so many conservative voters, and conservative voters admit this themselves. Maybe it's anecdotal, but I'd also like a polling company to do this. There's so many conservatives who would have voted for Bernie Sanders, and I think those are your most gettable conservatives. The ones who are, they won't call it material conditions, but they're like, yeah, when's my minimum wage going up? But there's so many Republicans who are all of the ists, racist, sexist, fascist, homophobic, etc., that I no longer have it in me to fight with people who I know that they just want an authoritarian. And if I was an authoritarian, but like I gave them healthcare and I like actually sent them stimulus checks, and I didn't gut the parts of the government that gave them the right things. And, if I had white skin, brown, like blonde hair and blue eyes, that I would literally be able to create a constitutional amendment to be king for life. And Democrats and Republicans would allow it. Like, not literally, but like my point is, the thing I think you're missing from your analysis is that when you're leveling the critique of why are we spending so much time criticizing Democrats, it's because that they are the opposition party, and they have created a system where you only get two parties. And so if they're not going to oppose, historically, this is a fact. If they're not going to oppose, and they're just going to throw their hands up in the air and say, well, okay, this is an oligarchical country, so let's start, trying to, instead of fighting Google and fighting Microsoft and fighting these tech companies for the people, let's, give them what they want and give them their money, and let's accept the fact that like money is taking over this country. When in France, if you raise the retirement age 2 years, the politicians encourage the people to riot, and the people were going to riot regardless. All right. Like, there's an American culture that I think Democrats feed into that feeds the Republicans. And I know the Republicans are evil. I'm not going to convince the Joker to not be the Joker. But if Batman is like, playing the heel, I'm going to go for Batman because I know that he's Batman and I know that he can fight the Joker, but he's just choosing not to in this analogy. Furthermore, I'm condescending. I'm a piece of shit. I'm the villain of the show. And Bam's stupid. Anyways, that's my point. And, truthfully, read my words literally. Not the stupid part, but like my true words, Bam, honestly.
Okay, well, I think that you were disrespectful and you were condescending. I would accept an apology because I don't think that that's right. We joke around on the show, but I don't question your intelligence. We disagree all the time, but I don't question your intelligence, though.
I did not mean to. And if you want to accept my apology, that's fine. If you think that I'm being condescending right now by genuinely apologizing to you, then that's fine. But
no, I accept the apology, and hopefully we can move forward. But I do want to reply. I do want to respond to that.
Sure.
I think
I will
that.
Finish.
No, please interrupt this time because then that'll make it like we're back to normal. I saw that eye roll. Chill out. You don't get eye rolls for like 10 minutes. Yes. Yeah. Dan, you literally
Nigga speak. Just go. Just finish. Again, I'm not mad. You're the one getting kind of heated right now, but like, just make your take.
Okay. I'm getting heated. Okay. Anyway, I think that there's a part of what you said that I agree with. Aside from Kamala, I don't think she had a chance regardless. Like, she can wave a Palestine flag. People wasn't voting for her. But I do think that there's something that Democrats can do to make themselves as a party more likable or more like excited, make people more excited for people to vote for them. And that's universal health care. I said that from jump. Like, the next election, you got to run on universal health care. That's the only thing that can combat all of the right-wing propaganda that is flooding the scene. Because it's damn near impossible. Like, they have the culture, the right, like they do. So the only thing politically that anything, like me and Satchi were talking about it when you were away, like, you can tell people that like Elon's is firing the people that are investigating. That shit is not going to resonate. Universal healthcare is like the only thing I think is going to resonate. And if they don't do that, like, good luck to you. But at the end of the day, for me, as a leftist, I look at the right as my enemy. Like, that's my enemy right there. And if somebody's like a liberal or whatever, like, I'm not looking at them as my enemy. And I always quote Jose Mujica, the former president of Uruguay. And he said that the left fought each other and Franco died in his sleep. The left is just fighting each other the whole time. And the right is Franco died that's how he got out of office, was he died of old age. So that's me. But honestly, like, I'm not mad at anybody else's project or whatever you think. I just have my opinion. And I don't think that what you think or what Satchi thinks is dumb or less intelligent. I just think that this is just how I feel.
Bam, I do have a quick question to that, because I'm wondering what you think in terms of, I know you said running on universal healthcare. I do agree with you that that's a like even there are Republicans out there who think we should have universal health care like that. That's not a loss by, it's a very small minority, but there's still some out there who think we should. But I guess my question is, politically advantageously, what are the paths then for, if we don't, let's say we can't push them, but like the constant year in and year out, even during midterms, where it's just like basic policies and common sense policies that you're talking about, universal healthcare, that are progressive, that are in the polls, that people adamantly say, look, this is what we need, this is what we need from you, and they still don't do it because at the same time, private health insurers are feeding them millions of dollars, right? So the question that's the, I think where the anger comes from. It's just like, it's more of, there's a lot more in common. I think here's the thing, my feeling is, I think there's a lot more in common between the right wing and Democrats than we want to give credit for. Yes, they're.
You know why? Honestly, because when you get up there, dude, there's it's bigger than rap once you get up there, dude. Like, there's no country where there's not big money making decisions for politicians. Like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not in that room or in those rooms, but like, but we can see it. Elon's got he's the richest person in the world. He made that shit click. The private health insurance or whatever, or the auto industry or whoever, like, these industries have a lot of power. APAC has a lot of power. So it might not be that easy to really like try to kick that door down. But I'll say this. Like, if there's going to be change, like the thing that we do have in this country that a lot of countries don't, is that, Satchi, like, you can run for office. And if you convince enough people, you'll be in there. And that's what it is. Like, if there's people running for office that believe in these principles, they get in there and hopefully they can make that shit happen. But but like, at the end of the day, like, this is the richest country in the world. There's big, like, the person who makes like the freaking matches or some shit, or like the pots and pans or something, is a gajillionaire in this country. And when those people show up to your door and say, I don't know, I don't know, nobody, it's never happened to me, but you might have to listen. I hope it's not that corrupt, but it probably is. There's no reason why it wouldn't be. So, but at the end of the day, like, if you, and obviously I'm using it hypothetically, if you show up and you convince enough people, if Dan shows up and convinces enough people, you're going to be in there.
But that's the thing, though, bro. Like, it's at the same time, you could try to convince enough people, but the powers that be, they're going to try and squash you at every level.
But that's life. That's life.
We see
that's life.
So, and that's, I think, again, where the main overall point of this discussion is coming from, is that in the wake of what is considered to be the most, even though I personally think Trump is a byproduct of a system, it's not like a singular thing, it's not a singular event, but in the wake of what we're being told is the most fascist, I'm not even saying that word correctly, but the most fascist government we've had in the entire history of our country, right? If we want, at least modern history, it's a lot of these, that's how these Democrats are playing it up, right? They're saying, what is the first thing that Biden said to Trump as soon as he waltzed into the White House? Welcome home. You know, this is like 2 weeks ago. It's the guy who's. But
you know that Biden isn't going to save you, just like I don't. I know.
Let's Satchi finish, Bam.
But I'll just say, going back to Dan's point. Sorry.
I'll bring on Roland Martin next time, so you don't feel like you're, being beaten up on.
No, but I think
this is racist at the end of the day.
I do think, like you said, I agree with Dan too. If Kamala had just broken at all, even a tad bit, even from Biden on Gaza, you can't go around saying injustice somewhere is an injustice everywhere. They love to quote MLK with all these quotes and fanciful things and holidays, and at the same time, they're voting literally to send 2,000-pound bombs to go kill children in Gaza. And we're being told that this is the party that's supposed to be the opposition of fascism. When we got, at the end of the day, we have two parties that are enabling of fascism. That's what they're doing. One of them ain't doing it more than the other, and that's the challenge. We can't. It's tough to be able to rally up and get as many progressives as possible because, again, you look at Cori Bush, you look at Jamal Bowman. They were targeted. Rashida Tlaib was censured by more Democrats than not. And then the day after that she was censured, they took a censure away from Brian Mast after he said, oh, you wouldn't call all innocent civilians Nazis or whatever. He compared Palestinian civilians to Nazis, right? Like, it's the continual pattern of, like, this is not an opposition party. We'll take a step back. One of the people I mentioned in here, I forget her name, but she was on CNN saying, oh, what are we expected to do? She literally voted for 7 of Trump's appointees. Like, you got Democrats who were actively saying, the Lake and Riley Act, for example, you had Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, guys who ran on inspiration and hope, who are voting for the Lake and Riley Act, which is essentially saying you can deport migrants without due process. It's just a whole thing. If you're going to give them the keys to the kingdom, just do it already, or leave Congress. That's where we're at, right?
But do you think the Democrats are a left party?
No, but we go. But like, they parade around as well.
That's okay, though.
But Bam, can I jump in? Because
yeah, please.
In a very rare characteristic form, I let a back and forth happen like 3 times, and I didn't say a word. So let's this is PowerPoint with Dan from the internet. Okay, so let's get back to business. No. Whether you think this is condescending or not, like Homan, stick it up your ass, Bam. But let me be clear. I said I never called you dumb. I would never do that. I said you're smarter than the.
I heard what you said, Dan. I heard what you said. We can move past that. Okay,
listen. If that's how you heard it, genuinely, I often say things that I think it's some way, and other people don't think it, and other people think it the other way. So I apologize for that, and I take.
You already apologized. We're already past it. We're good.
You're weird emotionally. My point is that outside of this, but our conversation about politics is that I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it, you're fatalistic. You're like, okay, well, the Democrats won't be this, they'll never be this. And I'm like, no, we can fight them.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I disagree with that.
I want to hear you disagree with me, but I want to make my point as quickly as possible. What I've heard from you is that, well, what do you expect from Democrats? Well, obviously they're not going to do this. Well, we've seen how they act, so this is how they are. And I'm like, you know what? I agree with that completely. But before I came to politics, and that's why I like having people like Bam on this show, I came to politics not from necessarily punditry, but from actually working in political activism and doing grassroots things and trying to get people offline to do things. Very successfully, might I add. Both of us have been, Bam and I, in doing that. And so I agree, both of us, middling. There's the insult you wanted, Bam. But my point is that I, as cynical and as pessimistic and as mean as I am, I have to believe that there is a possibility to push certain Democrats. And with 435 of these hoes in Congress, again, shout out to LaMonica McIver, shout out to Ayanna Pressley, shout out to Ilhan Omar, shout out to Rashida Tlaib. People who have been, and Bam's right, too few of them. I can't say the Democrats are like that, all right? But I got to say that, like, everything that, not singling you out, Bam, but like everything that has been said about what is against any leftist on the Democratic side who's like trying to break into that party. A, it's easier to break into the party than like run third party, as we obviously know. But B, everything that has been said has gotten, other than LaMonica McIver, who I just mentioned, but has gotten the other 4 women I just mentioned into incumbency. If you make it past your first re-election as a congressperson, you're a super incumbent, and you're probably good because that means your community knows you, they like you, you have name recognition. I'm just saying that, like, on the show, we have experienced the rot of the gerontocracy of the Democratic Party. It's very male, and there's a lot of black men in it too. There's Jim Clyburn. There's, there's a lot of folks in it too. But I'm saying that, like, my critique of Hakeem Jeffries, which to semi-host the show, my warpath began because Roland Martin tried to, a prominent Black journalist who's been around for a very long time and has done good work, decided to play the race card and say that, oh, isn't it interesting how Ken Klippenstein, a reporter, is only targeting Hakeem Jeffries and is not focused on Chuck Schumer or not other Dem leaders. It's just his Jeffries obsession, implying that it's just a black thing, as though Ken Klippenstein has not done work over the past, decades against, all types of Republicans, all types of Democrats. I mean, he made his bones off of hacking the Freedom of Information Act, something that, by the way, Elon Musk just got rid of. So a CNN reporter, I don't have this clip, but a CNN reporter tried to file his FOIAs like you usually do, and an Elon Musk executive said, "We're not giving you any government information. Kick rocks, pound sand." Okay. That is all to say that, like, if I'm a leftist, I'm going to exercise power first and foremost outside the Democratic Party, on the streets, in the hoods, like in community building, period, end of sentence, und so weiter, right? But secondly, I'm going to realize that there's power in the government and that Democrats won't believe in me, but I know how to bully Democrats. And I know how to get results from bullying Democrats. I can bully Republicans and they'll put me in jail. And, I will win that fight in many years' time, but they have the ability to tie me up for years in the fight. All right. Democrats won't do that because they're bitches. And so I can fight them, and I can fight them in the way that's like, Bam has rightly called me out in many times on this show, publicly and privately, and has done it with love and kindness. And I choose to do it with rage because these people have power, and that's why Bam's a better person than me. But I am going to spend this show as the super producer, the executive, I guess, but in collaboration with the 2 people on the screen and many other people. I'm going to do this show as like, number 1, fuck the Republicans. Number 2, fuck the Republicans. Number 3, fuck the Republicans. Number 4, we can build power outside of politics such that politicians are afraid of us. And like number 5, we can bully Democrats to giving us what we want if they're not giving us what we want. Right. And I'll finish there, but I have a lot more.
Well, no, let me just reply to, because you said, because I didn't.
Did I say a lot? Did I say a lot?
When I wasn't exactly saying that the Democrats are just going to be away, and that's kind of like the last thing I said. But before that, I was saying to Satchi, like, the thing is, you can get in there and change it. Like, those people you named, like, they're getting in there, and like, it's a slow burn. I can't say that they're changing the culture necessarily, but they are, like, those people that you named, because these people are progressive and they stand for human rights, and obviously they're not perfect, but that's changing the culture of what the Democratic Party, what all those people were 30 years ago. You know what I mean? So what I'm ultimately saying, like, I don't say ultimately, what I was saying is, like, that like changing of what what we're all frustrated about the Democratic Party is going to take time. The good thing is that somebody like either of you two, I can't say myself, but either of you two could get in there and help to change the culture and fight for the things that would be great for this country. Universal health care and higher minimum wage and goddamn better roads and somebody in that tower in Arizona, one person, at least a robot, somebody like, and that's a good thing. I'm not saying to give up. I'm not fatalistic at all. Actually, I don't have no cynicism in me at all. I am somebody that believes in let's try it until we die. Because that's what my ancestors did. That's the only reason I'm here, because somebody kept fighting, you know? They didn't give up. You know what I mean? So but let me just say this. Please don't apologize again. Don't do that anymore. We're past that. I'm not like I think the things that we disagree on are like fine. Like they're fine to disagree on. And I've said this before, I think it's the good thing about this show that
100%.
we can disagree, you know? Because you don't usually see that. Dan, you are the dictator with a K, and sometimes but it's all good. I enjoy doing this. I care about you, and hopefully you show up Saturday sober. Okay.
Depends on what time it is, because I have a flight the next morning. So
okay, I'm gonna get off the screen. I'm gonna get off the screen, but I'm still listening.
Okay, word. This is actually going to be a great time, not to filibuster you. And, Bam and I have a long friendship beyond this show. And it's, as many people know, a friendship with Dan is a lot of tolerance and patience. And so I appreciate what Bam does. We're not apologizing. That being said, so yeah, I would put up the Roland Martin tweet that was like, insinuating that Ken Klippenstein's, as though he's never criticized Chuck Schumer, he's never criticized all these other people. There's this thing I feel like I'm fighting where that asking the Democrats to do better is not racism. Asking the Democrats to do better is not supporting the Republicans. This is not the fucking NBA. This is not the fucking NHL. It's not just two teens and some statistics, all right? This is life and death. This is Head Start programs for preschoolers. This is, Presidio Park in San Francisco where the Golden Gate Bridge is being maintained, which just got cut today too, right? Like there's so much about this here. And so, what I kind of respond to that, like Jamie Harrison, who was the former, chair of the DNC, was, egging Roland Martin on. And I feel some type of way about this because I'll be real, like, I have some MSNBC libs in my family, and they love Roland Martin, and they also love Bernie Sanders. And I just have to be like, this is the moment where we need to fight this contradiction. This is the moment where we need to just let's figure this out. Let's game this out. And I feel like not a lot of people get this. I think everyone watching this show gets this. Even when we disagree, we get this. Like this is Power Report. This is why I love doing the show, so I can stand on this. So I can say that, like, oh no, you can't say that I noted half black person Dan from the internet. I passed pretty well, right? But like noted half black person Dan from the internet is a racist because I'm saying that Jim Clyburn and Hakeem Jeffries are taking up space that Black women in the Democratic Party should be having. And if they come at me, those attacks no longer work. They can't say because they perceive Ken Klippenstein to be white. I'm actually curious about his ethnicity. I'm not sure it's that simple. But like, they can't come at me and go, oh, you're racist against Black people. Both my parents are Black. You can't do that. You cannot do that. And so That's why I do this Warpath. That's why I fight. That's why I know that social media works with anger getting attention, and I use that vitriol to my existence, because I know that if I get up there and make these arguments, their arguments break immediately. And in a way where, like, maybe that person doesn't stop arguing their dumbass opinion, but because they can't stop arguing that dumbass opinion, the audience, the people watching that, will then realize, oh damn, like we can't we gotta update the propaganda. It's not working anymore. And so, like, this really set me off, because Harrison James and Roland Martin, their only politics is to say that any critique of a mainstream Democrat is downstream from racism. Like, any critique. I'm not saying they aren't. I'm not saying that, Ken can't misstep, or, any person can't misstep. Obviously, I can misstep, and I do all the time on the show, very transparently, and I don't mind doing that because I think it's important to, show learning and growth as a political pundit, because so many pundits try to pretend to be perfect and normal and always on it. And I think it's important to just be like, no, this is what it looks like to fuck up and fix things. And you need to demonstrate for people. So I'm fine doing that online. Anyways, that sounded really nice. Now I'm going to go for the kill. So my response to all of that sort of like stuff happening with Hakeem Jeffries and all of that was to play with the fact that Anna Kasparian has, because she's a journalist and she's really good at her job, has branded me as a millionaire who works for Goldman Sachs. I've decided just, play into that character and say that, hey, Hakeem Jeffries, I'm Dan. If you don't know me, I'm a millionaire progressive who's strongly considering the idea of bankrolling a primary challenger to you, the same way that Musk plans to do with Trump's enemies. Will you speak to me first, Hakeem, or will you speak to Elon? I referenced the guillotine tweet, and I threatened to turn him into a Sam's Club assistant manager if he doesn't. Not even Costco, dude. That's how much I hate him, right? Like, I said I would do this to him if he, didn't respond. And I will say this: what happened? Bam, I'll let you finish. But I'll get the ticker running shortly. But I've never had so many mainstream media reporters follow me from a single tweet. Rolling Stone, NBC, CBS, like, they saw that and they were like, oh my God, he just unlocked an idea. And, I'm not saying I'm a genius, because primarying shitty Democrats is not an unpopular thing. AIPAC tries to primary good Democrats. AOC tried to be challenged by like a fake Latino woman who's like, trying to do, I'm not going to go that far, but right? Like, you see these things. And one of my friends sent this to me really well. It's like, oh, this is worse than a death threat. You're threatening to primary them. They hate that more than death threats, actually. And no, like, I now know that people on Hakeem Jeffries' team follow me. And I now know they keep tabs on me. And I just think it's ridiculous. Like Ghost Producer C says, they will only listen to a voter if I tell them that I'm rich and I'm going to threaten their power. And that means the Democratic Party is not democratic. like that's, if I did that to the leader and that got the leader's attention, but all of the vast, like the bulk of people, which is supposed to be, a plurality democracy society, like the bulk of people are saying, hey, we want you to fight more, then hey, right? Like, not to relitigate this, but this is why I'm like, okay, I know how to apply pressure to Democrats, because if I tweeted this at my non-existent Republican congressman, it wouldn't have worked. If I tweeted this at the Democratic representative, it is giving me stuff to work with. Let me clear the elephant in the room, because I kind of clickbaited everyone accidentally for a point. And so I sold this episode as I was going to speak to a Democratic congressman. And in some ways I did, and in some ways I didn't. So here's what happened. At the rare risk of doxing myself a little bit, my hometown is Long Beach, California, which means I am represented by the former mayor of Long Beach, California, who is now a congressperson representing the area, Robert Garcia. He was the first openly gay and Latino mayor of the city. I have a lot of lore about his first election that I was involved in because it was a lot about my first political experience. Different show. But he went on Fox News fairly recently. I'm not sure if it was Fox News, actually, to be fair, but he went on TV fairly recently, and he made, honestly, a Warpath Dan nut up analogy that was like, we're not, oh, he was on CNN, and he said, we're not going to bring a knife to a gunfight. We're going to bring a gun to a gunfight, which I think was, in the words of Alex Jones, politically. And also, like, that's the smoke I want. I don't want a congressperson telling me to write letters to Donald Trump that aren't going to get read. I want a congressperson saying, if they're coming with war, we're coming with nuclear war. Like, you can't bully me because I will bully you back 10 times harder and scare you away. That's what I want Democrats to do. And I don't think a Democrat necessarily needs to be a leftist to just stand up for themselves and for the fucking First Amendment rights. Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia invited his constituents to a town hall. I accepted it on multiple different email addresses because I was afraid of getting found out. I kept it pretty secret and pretty covert. And it could be a technical glitch, maybe. I have found to not trust these, how do I call them? Coincidences. I'm not going to trust these coincidences at face value because I tend to be a nice person. Bam. And so none of my email addresses got the invitation link or the call. I registered with, not to give out my game, but I registered with a couple different phone numbers. I made it really hard for them to track me. And maybe it was a technical glitch. They weren't able to talk to me. Robert Garcia recently posted this thing. Again, he was on CNN, and he had said that, it's time to, the direct quote was, what the American public wants is for us to bring actual weapons to this bar fight. This is an actual fight for democracy, which, is rhetorical, but that's good rhetoric. Robert Garcia announced just today that he received this letter, and he clearly refused to deal with it, saying that this is a letter from an attorney from DC saying that, it seems like you're threatening Elon Musk's life, and Elon Musk is a public official. Therefore, we're going to look into these things, and if this doesn't look right, signed by noted little bitch Edward R. Martin Jr., whoever this complete clap ass, whack ass, cracker ass who hates the Constitution and everything we stood for. He tried to say that you have until the 24th of February to respond or apologize for your claims about Elon Musk, your metaphorical, political claims about Elon Musk, well protected within the First Amendment, or else, what was threatened was, jail time, arrests. I take these requests seriously and act on them when letters like this, act like them with letters on this you're receiving. So, Rep. Garcia said, as a member of Congress, you must have the right to forcefully oppose the Trump administration, and I will not be silenced. Now, if Robert Garcia invited me to that press conference that I was invited to, and I was actually let in, I would have asked him this question. That when Robert Garcia first got elected into Congress, one of the things he did is this big initiative in Long Beach, which is to Long Beach has a rich history of aerospace. McDonnell Douglas, which is the worst parts of Boeing, had a big plant out here. Long Beach Airport was a home for a lot of World War II activity, and half of the city was built in the 1950s World War II boom, like truly. So they're trying to rebrand the city as like, we're no longer an aerospace city, we're a space city. And so you have a bunch of incentives for startups, Virgin Galactic, Rocket Lab, etc., to come to Long Beach. SpaceX has been given access to the Port of Long Beach. And the Port of Long Beach is not something the mayor controls. It's federal because it's the Port of LA and Long Beach, and it's the most important port in America. Much more important than the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, substantially more, because that's where we get all of our goods from China. That's where we get all of our cars from Korea and Japan. All of our semiconductors for AI and processors from Taiwan and India. Like, we running that shit through LA and Long Beach. And so, again, I love Robert Garcia's words. I love the fact that I went to coffee today and I ran into Robert Garcia. And I didn't tell him what I was going to do. He didn't know. I was being pretty contrite. But I said to him, fight harder. What I fully said to him was, I just saw your tweet like 12 minutes ago. Fight harder. Tell your colleagues to fight harder. Because I saw Republicans call Obama a dictator for trying to give people cheap healthcare. Okay, so like, don't just call Trump a dictator for doing the obvious dictator things. Don't just call Elon a dictator for doing the obvious dictator things. Robert Garcia, put a bill on the floor, the Evict Elon Musk Act. If you're going to loot our government, you don't get to, we're going to do the Long Beach Department of Government Efficiency. And we've decided that it is inefficient for the government to give Elon Musk valuable space on the most valuable port in this country. Another Blue Origin, Airbus, Embraer, Cheerios, whatever. Give him that space, all right? But that's the power you have to hit his bottom line. Elon Musk is, and I hate to use this phrase, a welfare queen to the extent. Obama's subsidies, the fact that Republicans gutted NASA so that they needed to outsource building rockets to companies like SpaceX. This man relies on government money. And he's dumb enough to try to cut government money. So let's use that argument against him and start cutting off his government access. You're not going to get him in Texas. He ran off to Texas, good. But Tesla's biggest factory is and will continue to be in Fremont, California. And they have no ability to move that substantially anytime soon. All right? The Tesla design factory, the SpaceX launch factory is in Hawthorne, California. It's a suburb of Los Angeles, an industrial suburb of Los Angeles, kind of close to the airport, right? He owns that city now. He doesn't need to. The mayor said he owns that city. The Congress people and the senators would be like, well, let's tap the brakes on this, okay? Let's literally apply belt to ass to some of these Congress people. Not these Congress people, but, the Congress people who won't fight like this. And in conclusion, because I had to explain the whole story here, dog, I'm going to take y'all off camera real quick. I'm sorry. I'm wearing the same shit. I was wearing the same black cutoff tank top, and I took off my glasses, but they're here, but they're reflective, so I don't wear them on stream. But like, I was there with you. I shook your hand. I was nice to you. Okay. I think it's kind of weird that your constituents didn't get access to talk to you at this time. I understand you're going through a lot, like some of the most severe federal threats that have been alleged towards a congressperson in recent memory. But this is my broad point. Democrats, nut up. Elected Democrats, nut up. Because if I say the wild things that I'm saying, and Elon Musk decides to be vindictive enough to put me in jail, I can make a point out of it and I can be good, but I have substantially less power than Robert Garcia doing the same thing. And I didn't necessarily elect Robert Garcia, but he was elected by, the majority of the voting public, at least in this area, in this district. In the same district where downtown Long Beach just had a protest that was called Stop Elon Musk, then yeah, I respect how much he's fought rhetorically so far. Let's put some teeth to it. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying, okay, Donald Trump, whore of New York City, wants to cut congestion pricing. Okay, Kathy Hochul, you may have Eric Adams' bitch ass, but Kathy Hochul's the governor. Eric Adams, kick rocks, you're out of there. All the Trump properties, you're evicted. Your taxes are 300% now. Like, let's go. If you really want to see, government, if you really want to sue the courts and go back and forth, okay, let's go back and forth and sue. But if Donald Trump is going to play vindictive politics, I expect Democrats to play vindictive politics. Because you're not going to win voters by saying, oh, well, at least they took the high ground, because the Democrats chose the parliamentarian over raising the minimum wage. I want fighters. We need fighters. People are asking for fighters. And another thing, no. But yeah, no. I want to surprise folks with the interview, but I couldn't do it, so I apologize.
If he puts that bill on the floor and it doesn't pass, is that Democrats failing you again?
No. That's notes.
Okay.
If he puts that bill on the floor and it doesn't pass, every Democrat who voted no or abstain on that bill is now getting Dan smoke. And we're gonna do more bills like this too. All right. This is force the vote Dan. All right. If you're not in power, then all you can do is put people on record. All you can do is do TV hits. All you can do is these examples. But guess what? That's these TV hits, these examples, these fake scandals is how Republicans got people to believe that DEI is actually real. And it's not just DE Iggers like we've been talking about in the show, right? Like, you've got to do the work to lay the foundation for your propaganda, whether it's good or bad. I happen to believe that my propaganda is close enough to the truth to get results. And that is me feeling really honest with my propaganda. Again, if I can lie, if my one lie is that I'm a millionaire and I get Hakeem Jeffries' attention, fuck you if you criticize me for that lie. Okay, like I don't care.
But they might have also looked at your Twitter header though and been like, oh, that's like a threat. Like, they might have actually clicked on your profile and looked at that. They'd be like, oh, this guy's actually also talking about killing Hakeem Jeffries.
No. I noted in my tweet to Hakeem Jeffries, I strongly suggest you check the timestamp for my Twitter header so you know I mean business. I'm not hiding shit. I want them to know that the vibes on Elon Musk have been out here for years, and the Democrats, like usual, are just catching up. And so, again, if I'm a progressive millionaire and my goals are metaphorically and politically publicly in my Twitter bio, and Democrats will respond to me, but not to any other person who has the same opinions, but just not millions of dollars, then I have you on record. And now I have them on record. I can spin the block on the point that I had to act like a crazy person, a crazy male misogynist millionaire to get the attention of the Speaker of the House in the Democratic Party. When, like, I shouldn't need to do that. The stakes are high enough. Bams, never committed a sin ass can go to the Democrats, and he should be able to go to the Democrats and get nearly the same results, at least his own congressperson. I'm genuinely, I'll just say final word. I came into this night, the Power Report team knows, I came into this night with a lot of smoke for Robert Garcia. That smoke did not necessarily fully change because I met him. That smoke changed because I saw the letter. And I saw that, yeah, I did see that interview on CNN, but I categorize this as rhetoric. But now that I know that behind the scenes, the Trump people heard him and were going to play hardball with him, I'm like, okay, let's yes and this. Let's continue this forward, right? Like, okay, you're powerful enough not to get rid of them, but to get their attention and possibly be a threat. If they jail Robert Garcia, if they try to jail a sitting congressperson, other Democrats, even your Hakeem Jeffries, are going to see the point. And again, I get to point out that it took a jailed congressperson for Hakeem Jeffries to see the light. And, that does not look good on him. But while we're working on changing Democratic leadership and these systems of always rewarding the most senior people in the party, we can at very least start to make examples of like, who are the pro-union Democrats? Who are the union buster Democrats? Cenk Uygur. Who are the Democrats who are willing to accept the DEI thing and throw black people under the bus, throw trans people under the bus? Anna Kasparian. Again, I'm talking about electeds here, but like we can just take notes. Because we are powerless, but we can take notes. We can take notes on what the people with a slight amount of power choose to do with it right now. And so I think that's our strategy. Because if Hakeem Jeffries' testicles descend tomorrow and he spends the next year and a half before 2022 and the primaries before that, like actually doing something, cool. And I'm going to eat my words on this show. It's fucking not going to happen. Unless we properly, like organizers, like I'm not going to do this again, but I will, like the smart organizer that I know Bam is, that I am, that we all pinpoint who are the weak spots, maybe like your Robert Garcia's, friend of the show, and be like, okay, you're almost there. I'm going to apply pressure on you because if I apply pressure on this one person versus, generally yelling at 200 Democrats, if I apply pressure on this one person, this is the domino that sets across what I want. That's strategic politics. And that's what I'm screaming about on the show. And another thing, no.
Satchi, you got to talk because I've talked too much.
Yeah, you're also on the East Coast. I want to make sure you like get to bed when you want to. So I know I said a lot. There's a lot to get there, but listen, you have such a great brain on this, so please go in.
I do agree with starting with weeding out the weaker ones. And it's easy. Actually, I'm going to say it's easier said than done. No, actually, wait, I would take this back. It's easier than you would think. That's what I want to say.
Yes. And can I just say very clearly, because the opposite. I think Robert Garcia, in a binary world of weak Democrat, strong Democrat, is a strong Democrat. I think in a less binary world, he could be stronger. But right now, in the first month of the Trump administration, he is one of the top, I can't name them all, but let's say 30 strongest Democrats in the House right now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying he's not weak, but he's gettable.
Yeah. You
can get him to like, okay, your foot's kind of accelerating, floor it. I can convince Robert Garcia to floor it, and so I'm gonna spend my attention on that. Hakeem Jeffries is gonna be harder, and so I'm still gonna spend my attention on that. But like, I'm choosing my words with Robert Garcia right now. I respect him a lot more from a lot of these things. So my approach towards, and it's a nuanced approach, even towards someone like Robert Garcia, is different from someone like Hakeem Jeffries, who I'm like, you have a lot of work to do, and you're only going to get through this work through pain. And I wish it was different. I'm hard muting myself so Satchi and Bam can speak.
So the two things I'll say with that, in terms of tying it back to convincing our liberal voter friends how to do this and weed out these, I wouldn't say weak ones, but the low ones who are going to be more challenging to kind of around and come across, is I'm always saying it, follow the money. I know Open Secrets is there for a reason. Start there. That's a great foundational research point to share with them. And then B, like you said, Dan, take notes of, like I went back to all these Democrats who are enabling Trump's agenda by voting for these bills that are, of course, just terrible, right? Make note of that too. But at the same time, when you want to, I think it's, losing my train of thought here now, but end of the day, yes, hold their feet to the fire, so to speak. Call them out publicly, push them, encourage them publicly. Not like, again, like it's, we got to go to war, but also we got to go to war in a way that's going to be like, okay, I see the light now.
No, war is strategic, right? Like, again, my foot up is going to be through the floor for Republicans. All right.
Yeah.
But it's going to be at the floor for Democrats who are not fighting them to the same vigor that I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's my most succinct point.
Yeah.
And another no.
Same boat.
Yeah, I'll also like, if you and Robert Garcia hang out again or meet up for coffee again at Blue Note on Cherry, and no, I'm joking.
Bluestone Lake Coffee on Ocean Boulevard and Long Beach Boulevard, well within his district. So listen, Eric Adams lives in New Jersey, so I will at least say that, like, I'm happy to have run into Robert Garcia on the stomping grounds, not in like Santa Monica or some shit. Like, if I saw Robert Garcia on Santa Monica, this show would be different.
I was gonna say another place if you saw him, but I won't do it this month.
Wait till September.
If you get an audience with him again, I think it'd be pertinent to talk to him about how, like, what is the strategy for midterms, for the next election? Because, I mean, not that whatever I think is right, but honestly, I don't see a way forward other than like a general protest vote. Other than Democrats running on universal health care in a way that's like kind of universal to the party. I just don't see any other way to like really energize the masses. But is this his first term or no? You're muted, Dan.
Good. No, I want to say it's like second or third term.
Okay.
He gets 2-year terms as congressperson. He was the mayor of Long Beach. I think he termed out. I have a story about running a campaign against him when he was just running, and it's a story. I'll tell that for members. All right. But like, it was actually one of my first, most formative, and still to this day most grounding political experiences was helping a campaign against Robert Garcia. It's not that I didn't like them, because like in a place like Long Beach, your opposition has to at least pretend to be blue. They have to pretend to be progressive. Like, it's not liberal. You have to pretend to be progressive. All right. Like, even if you're a Republican, you gotta be like, I'm gonna paint the crosswalks rainbows. Like, that's how Long Beach rolls. And, you know, over time, I've become really proud of growing up in this type of environment. I think it was really healthy for me. To get your fried chicken sandwiches cooked by a Vietnamese woman crip walking to Mexican banda music. Like that's Long Beach right there. Shout out Anaheim Street.
To DW Flame. But yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, like maybe you can try to talk to dude. Like
I want to, and that was gonna be the thing I was gonna ask, is ultimately like I knew I was probably only gonna get one question in that town hall. So I was gonna ask, like, okay, are you ready to potentially be primaried? Or are you ready to, fight Elon Musk, not just rhetorically, but with his wallet and with the fact that government controls a lot of his bag? And how ready are you? My counter question was going to be like, my follow-up was going to be, how ready are you willing to convince your party? Because I have enough self-awareness as an activist to be like, if I'm power mapping Robert Garcia, he's done good for himself, honestly, but it's dick. He's a young queer Latino congressman from California. He's getting looked over by the Democratic Party, all right? And he has the type of, at least he has the willingness to fight this early, this fast, and like stick his neck out in a way that I would qualify him as a Justice Democrat. I would qualify him as like a squad member. And again, squad members, we've realized, are not always perfect on every issue, but that's how fucking, to put my BAM hat on, that's how fucking politics works, all right? You're gonna get some issues where your favorite politicians are kind of not right, and left meaning wrong, right? Like you're gonna get some politicians who like, I have a friend who's like, I'm not going to put him on blast, but he hates Ilhan Omar because she wrote a bill in opposition of the El Salvadorian president. And it's just like, to him,
Wait, I'm sorry, one more time? Wrote a bill in what?
Ilhan Omar signed a letter with a number of other congresspeople who was criticizing the El Salvadorian, I'm not sure what the official term is, but let's just say president, for his, he's like,
Right.
he's been credited. Yeah, he's been credited by right-wingers by like, locking up, a bunch of criminals and gang members, MS-13, whatever. But he's been criticized by journalists and other outlets in there by like, these are just blanket sweeps. Like, this is what Trump is doing, just like, you look brown, you're on a plane to Guatemala now. like that's what he's doing. And he's just saying, oh, well, no, they're all criminals because I said so. And like, that's just anti-democratic. But to him, he sees that as US imperialism. And like, so like this is all to say that like, however you come to politics, how and smartly or stupidly you do it, no politician is going to be perfect for you. Never. You have to understand that as a political viewer to be like, okay, let me be real vulnerable here. Sometimes I'm really good at my job. Sometimes I fucking suck at my job. And it impacts other people. And, it makes things difficult. On this show at PowerPort, in my day job, right? And it's political, right? You balance that. It's like, okay, while I'm getting better, other people are like getting both more and less patient with me to make sure I get better. And that doesn't mean that like I'm their enemy, but that means that like they need more of me in this moment. And in the end, yes, I want Robert Garcia to hopefully, like I said, I told him I can't imagine how you're feeling as a person right now, because it's realer for you than a lot of people in this country. I think in the, people who are dealing with police brutality in the Deep South and Robert Garcia are like at similar levels right now. Read that in what you will. All right. Like they're in similar, like real deep federal trouble. Unnecessarily so. Right. And the only difference is that Robert Garcia can write laws. And so I'm like, use that power. Tell your colleagues to use that power. I saw a football player get arrested because they put MAGA on a library in Huntington Beach, California. And they dragged him out and he had to sit in holding for 4 hours, but he thugged it out. And I'm just like, Robert Garcia, you might have to get arrested. But that's fine. That's fine because you're a congressman and your friends make laws. And so I'd rather Robert Garcia get arrested than me, because my friends can't make laws unless Robert Garcia reads this segment and this show better about my character better than Bam has.
Well, I also said this too. I mean, you said like because he's a gay Latino from California that he would get overlooked by the Democratic Party, but Julian Castro was like fairly prominent, and he was in the cabinet or something, wasn't he? For Biden, in some role, wasn't he?
I mean, sure, but I think this means your point, right? Like, Pete Buttigieg got the role because he was clean, articulate, and white, right? And so, like, the Democrats will let you in at a certain point, but like, not if you have so many, especially after Kamala. If you have too many intersectionalities, you're done, so dude.
Hey, look, I wouldn't even be mad. I'm just like, let's give it some time. You threw a black woman at America, they were like, stop it, you're doing too much.
A black South Asian woman, let's be clear here, because yeah, but like, yeah, and again, this is a difference of approach for like, again, I don't believe, like, I believe a lot of why Kamala Harris lost was because on face value, you look like on specs, right? Like, black woman, Indian woman, ambiguously to them, from California, under Gavin. Like, it's just like, people don't even read into what actually happened, even though she's like one of the most conservative legislators in California, frankly. People don't read into that, and they're just like, you know what, we're good. And that's why I'm like, there's no amount of arguments I can have on the internet with that kind of person. I'm going to appeal to non-voters. Not to really get the whole thing. I promise I'm not trying to. But yeah, like, my strategy is that, like, no, I think that if Democrats put Robert Garcia in a leadership role, again, like, geriatric Connolly, for the head of the House Oversight Committee, which is pretty fucking important for the Democrats in this administration, they didn't give it to one of the top fundraisers in the Democratic Party, one of the most vocal people in the Democratic Party, one of the few Latina Puerto Rican women in the Democratic Party. They did not give it to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, effectively the party's most effective messenger. They gave it to geriatric Connolly because it was his turn. And it's like, we got to get rid of geriatric Connolly, and we got to get rid of every single Democrat who let that happen. Mm-hmm. Because that's just bad politics. If AOC was head of the Oversight Committee, like, AOC can do a lot, but she's still playing the Democratic Party game, and I kind of hate her for that right now. But like, if she was head of the Oversight Committee, then she would have the party's blessing to foot through the floor on the gas with the Democratic Party and go like, we are the Congressional Oversight Committee. We are Doge. We are Doge. We are looking at government efficiency, and we're looking at government corruption, and we're looking at government corruption from Elon Musk. And Elon and AOC can communicate that, but every time she tries, the party whips her in a bad way. And so that's the thing I'm fighting for. That's the thing I think Satchi has expressed, and that's the thing, Bam, I think you're ultimately for as well. But it's like, it's about the desire to push Democrats in that direction versus, I'm not necessarily saying you're doing this, but sort of like the sort of acceptance that you can't. And I'm like, I don't know. I think in these circumstances, we can afford to try.
Sachi's shoulder lean is just.
You need to go to bed. You need to go to bed, Satchi.
No,
so like,
I wish the camera was out so I could see like how that lean works, because that is fire.
No, I'm sitting on a sofa, but last point I was gonna make. Last point I was gonna make though, or second to last point, is, by the way, tidbit on geriatric Connolly. He sent a letter today to Doge saying, or to Trump saying, I request information as to what official role Elon Musk is holding. That's what it was. But you're right, Dan. It's having. That's a big issue. I think it comes down to is messaging does not line up with the action. That's always been the Democratic issue. Is the messaging is one thing and the action is completely the opposite. Even when they had control of the Congress, the 117th Congress, that controlled the House, Senate, and of course the White House, which I could have done a lot with. But
for us non-political nerds, the 117th Congress was, going through and during which years?
2020, 2021, I want to say.
2021 to 2023, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
Biden's Congress, as it was,
Yes.
which is, conservative no matter what the breakdown is.
Yeah. Yeah. But also what I wanted to say was ultimately also holding these Democratic politicians accountable, but like I said, not only reaching out to non-voters, Dan, but reaching out to the voters who do vote for Democrats and being like, listen, there's an alternative path out there where you can hold these people accountable. It's not just, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to choose between the lesser of two evils, right? Like you can at least begin the process of shaping. If you have to vote, if you feel like you have to vote for them, at least push them in the direction to actually bring policy to the table. Like maybe you talk about universal health care, bring that to the table. And if you don't, then the thing that scares them the most, like you said, is being primaried. I'm going to actively campaign for a primary opponent, right? Like hold those, make those threats, not threats, but those, they are threats, but make them tangible, essentially is what I'm saying. And so while you're trying to get out non-voters, but you also to get at those liberal voters who are vote blue no matter who, right? Those are kind of people too that we got to be able to reach out to and be like, listen, I know how you feel about certain way about this, but there are alternative paths to this. That's my entire thought for the day.
Shout out that sofa, gangster. I'm over here thinking you're sitting in a chair leaning that hard.
I got a side table.
It's like gangster lean right there.
Literally, shoulder lean.
Another thing last thing I was going to say, man, what we need is besides the OC, I think we do need, and I do not say this sarcastically, we need a 21st century Eugene Debs. If we could find that somewhere, that'd be great. They're hiding in the winds somewhere out there in the.
It's you.
Maybe it's me. If it is,
you,
dictator
dude.
day one.
Bam. No, Satchi, don't fall for this trap. But before Bam realized I was a racist and an ableist, he wanted me to run for office, but now he can't endorse me in good faith. So Satchi, you're the new leader, so don't fall for the trap.
Okay, Dad, look, if you run, I'm supporting you from behind the curtain. But Audio Face exists, and if you can scrub it, then great. Like that, then you're doing good. But if not,
if you want to see the things that Bam is worried about, you should become a Syndicate 23 member, because the unscrubbed Audio Face is available on the site, but the rest of it's pretty much scrubbed.
Well, you will probably stop following the show. But then also, I don't know if WhatsApp can get leaked. If WhatsApp's leaked, we're all screwed. We're done for. But Satchi, you're
if WhatsApp leak, all my opponents are done for too. But
but Satchi, you're probably not a demon like us. Like you're probably like a decent person, unlike Dan and I. So you should go for it. But so I encourage you. You have good politics. You seem like a kind person. I encourage you to go for it. And I'll do what I can. I'll donate or something if I'm allowed.
EYT.com/Satchi. No.
But I mean, I'm like, seems like I'm joking, but I'm dead ass. Like, I can't run because I have a history, but maybe you can, And I did used to encourage Dan but now I know better. And that's for his own sake and the rest of the world.
Hey, listen, I warned you the entire time, but also
you did.
And also, give me 100 days of being a Trump-like dictator, and bam, we'll be fine.
No, I don't think so. Actually, no.
I'm scared
of that too. I'm scared too.
Listen, I'm not gonna put you in jail. Solitary? I don't know. No.
He's like, walk and then take this jet ski to Gitmo with a paddle. But no, I mean, I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. But I guess at some point we're going to talk about the international news. But I will say this once again for anybody listening. Me, whatever Dan and I or Satchi and I, disagree with on the surface here, I don't look at them ever as my enemy politically. I know for the most part, basically all the part, we want the same things. We have maybe different ideas about how to get there. And that's great because freedoms like that are great. I love that even we can sit here and talk about politics and the president and all these people. I just remembered today about a Russian dude who like criticized the Ukraine war, left, started a restaurant in London, wrote a book about cooking. He went to like Serbia for his book tour and they killed him. So like he's like dead in the hotel room. So I love that we can do this and disagree and it's fine because that's beautiful. And we're fighting for the same goals at the end of the day. Some of us are nicer about, no, I'm joking.
Bam, what you said was really heartfelt and I appreciate it. And I would just appreciate if you didn't drink out of your cup again because I may have made a mistake. Anyways, so Satchi, if you have any other last words, you're the East Coast guy and we got some international news to do, but like, yeah, I know you probably need to head out soon.
No, I just wanted to say I do agree with Bam. Like ultimately, we are aiming for the same thing. And I do want to reiterate, it's a lot easier to connect with those people that we're talking about, the Democratic side of it. And that's what we have to essentially focus on. When we do that, it's going to be a little bit of an easier path to navigate with the next 4 years, let alone the next 2 years. All right. Even the next 2 months. So, yeah.
The left will unite. Yeah. Thank you so much. The left will, I think, especially when I'm like 2 beers in, I've had to fight my urge to do some wild public shit about the Breonna Joy Gray thing because I'm honestly willing to let some of Force the Vote go because that's how much I'm on Bam in the fact that like I think we all want the same things. I think we all have similar expectations of the Democratic Party and I think me and Bam and Satchi are super optimistic and think that there are a couple of Democrats in there enough to at least provide the example for us and just do a little bit of sacrifice for us to make this point. And so I am not Bam. I am not smart. I am not the best host on the show. And I am a cynic. And so I hold hope in the fact that we can work with the 2 Whitland sticks we've got right now that are like the couple of Democrats willing to fight. And not to say this in LA, but we can start a wildfire with that. I choose to have that hope. Sure. Yes. Satchi, thank you so much, producer of the show, making all of this go around, mediating fights between Bam and us. But no, please in the comments give some love to Satchi in future episodes and etc. He can be found at Sportello 2025 because he fundamentally does not know how to use a social media account. And every time he's on the show, his social media app changes. But I recommend you follow him on Blue Sky. And I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Satchi. Okay? You're smart. You've got a lot of brains.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell you to run for Senate, but I'm gonna tell you that Blue Sky's right over there. And you need to pop off some of your takes so that people can tell the difference between me and you. As someone who was the producer for Anna Kasparian, I don't think I have that path, but I'm just going to say you might want to do that.
Copy that.
So yeah, like listen, I encourage folks to follow Satchi and his work wherever it happens, wherever he does it. And I encourage you to do it, man. I appreciate you so much and all you do for the show. And I will show that appreciation by telling you 30 minutes late that you should go to bed.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Ben. Great show.
Yeah.
You'll have a great night. Peace.
Satchi for Senate.
Yeah. No. Man, there's so many, and I also want to thank the audience. There have been so many good comments here, and I'm not going to be sappy with you, Bam. Now. But no, yeah, I like the fact that you watch so many other shows on the left and they're yes-anding. And Bam and I don't do that. And, you know, it gets a little tense there, and I apologize for my part in it sincerely. Ultimately, I'm sorry. I'll do the apology ticker later. But ultimately, I think it's good to demonstrate disagreement because Bam and I are no. Seriously. When you're organizing, you experience disagreement. You'll be talking a lot more like you're not going to be yo mamaing like you would on like Twitter or like Xbox Live, right? But you're gonna get into points of disagreements, and those disagreements are gonna feel real because you're talking with people and you're talking about politics and the intersection of which. And what I respect about this show and what we've built and what we're doing is that we can have these disagreements, and in the words of Cenk Uygur, we can get a beer afterwards. So yeah, and also I can get a beer with Bam because Bam does not believe that I'm inferior because of my skin color. I can't say it's the other way around, but I appreciate that Bam, you feel.
No, that wasn't a joke, guys.
Bam, I appreciate you for that. Hey, since I'm only half black, I stopped celebrating Black History Month on the 15th of February at 12 midnight Eastern because I'm that racist. I had to make it 9 p.m. Pacific just so I can get some licks in. Okay, so no, yeah. Let's hit international. Is there anything we didn't have? You know, like climate news, Bolsonaro, Ukraine, Russia that you want to talk about internationally?
Oh my God, we got to talk about this fool Donald Trump and Ukraine. Okay, here's my thing, dude.
Can I'm not going to interrupt you, but I just want to set us off with a comment from Donald Trump.
Yes.
So it's pretty clear that Donald Trump is basically doing propaganda for Putin, and I'm not, a Rachel like Jimmy Dore kick rocks, right? Like I will come for Jimmy Dore harder than I came for Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian, and any Democrat, Republican, or BAM combined and quadrupled. All right, so like. Jimmy Dore, you don't want this smoke. I will end you. I will literally make your life miserable. Anyways, politically, I don't know why that came out of me. Maybe I should, cut off the Henny. Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, the everything app, this long screed that appears to be like, that's why I came to it. It appears to be like, everything Russians love, right? I will read it and I will not do the voice. I'll paraphrase it because basically because it's long, dude.
God
like this is like I'm happy for you or I'm sorry for you, but I'm not reading that shit level, right? And so it's like He calls Zelensky a modestly successful comedian. He says that all he does is take money from Europe and the United States, but mostly the United States. Joe Biden should have demanded quote unquote equalization. America first. Why do we care about funding Europe, even though that's literally all America has done since World War II? He calls Zelensky a dictator without elections, as though Putin is not a dictator without elections. And and I'm not saying that Zelensky did not get some foreign help here and there, right? Let's be real. But Zelensky, his country was invaded, and he called off elections because two of the provinces within his country, to say nothing about Crimea, were essentially Russian proxy states already, because the Russians were able to Donald Trump, Elon Musk their way into hacking their elections in the Donetsk region, especially, right?
No, the elections would have been last year, and their constitution doesn't allow for elections during an invasion. And how many?
Yeah, I was talking about the states within Ukraine specifically, but yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
I was saying that they were corrupted by Putin in pre-2022, the same sort of
right.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and there's hella people on the front lines fighting war. How do you do elections during a war where you were invaded? That's ridiculous. But it's really I never really felt I never was really a Russiagate person like that. But the Russiagators got to be damn, dude, you're doing it even more than we thought you were at this point. It's really crazy that Donald Trump, although I'm not sure where this rhetoric is going to go, because I do feel he could get a tap on the shoulder from the American defense industry, but we'll see. But to literally say that Zelensky started the war, say that out of his mouth,
Nuts.
and he should have ended it. He could have ended it, shouldn't have started it. And before that, be demanding, he's saying that we're going to end the war because there's millions of people dying on both sides, which is also untrue. But for Ukraine, for us to end the war, we need your rare minerals. For Russia, to end the war, we don't need anything from you. And I'm just dude, if you're going to say that Ukraine should give up something to end the war, shouldn't Russia have to give up something too? They also have part of their land occupied.
What's a negotiation if one side gives in?
Yeah, I'm just okay, the Russiagators got to be damn, we didn't even know it was this bad. When this fool literally is I'm demanding something from one side, and I'm calling the person that was elected a dictator. And although Trump did congratulate Putin for winning the election while he was in office, and whoever else was in his cabinet was don't do that. Those elections are not real. And I think he did it anyway. But I'm just you're really making it seem like the P tape is real, dude. You look like such a little bitch to Vladimir Putin. It's crazy right now.
Yeah, to think that Zelensky, who, I've had my critiques about, I'm very 95% on Bam's side on this, right? But I have my critiques with him, right? He was elected in 2019. Putin's been president basically my entire life.
Since 2000, I think.
I remember 9/11. I remember where I was watching TV, 9/11 on TV. I do not remember Putin getting elected, and that was just 1 year before 9/11. I don't that's my entire. So to be Zelensky's a dictator, now they're saying U.S. aid funded the polling company that is reporting that Zelensky has above a 50% approval rating, when in reality it's 5%. That is the Trump thing. And it's just dude, God, man, I wish if I was a billionaire, Donald Trump would be Karl Marx. It's that easy, dude. It's that easy. That's what's going on. But all the left-wing billionaires are busy, fucking kids on yachts, Leonardo DiCaprio allegedly, Bill Clinton allegedly, Donald Trump allegedly, Elon Musk most likely allegedly, but like allegedly, that's super gonna get me in trouble, boss. But like we don't. It's not even allegedly. We're just joking. This is a joke. It's free speech. Get over it. Kill yourself. These are politically. These are just ridiculous statements, and there's a lot of, you always see, okay, but what about the Azov battalion? Okay, what about the, what? You're American. Power report rule number 1. If you're an American, you like understand American politics, you don't get to talk shit on an international country. That doesn't mean Ukrainian Nazis are bad. That just means that like you might live in a world where Ukrainian Nazis are Ukrainian nationalists and they're like motherfucker Russian. And when the Russians are invading, they're the first ones to be like motherfucker Russian. And so it's like, you know what? We'll deal with that later. Ukrainian culture already top to bottom hated black people, just like most of Europe and America, like, and Asia and South America, frankly, and Africa, right? Like, and Antarctica, right? They were pushed off of black people were pushed off of evacuation trains by Ukrainian police when the invasion started. All right. So like, yeah, I'm not going to deny there's some racism in Ukraine. I'm not going to focus on that when like the majority of Ukrainians are like, yeah, we're not Russian. We literally changed our language to not be Russian, dude. We went Balkan on that shit. Okay. So like, yeah.
No, it's ridiculous. Also, I remember like in the beginning of the invasion, like when the Azov battalion thing was going around, I'm like, 100% the American military has more Nazis than the Ukrainian military. Like 100%. Like,
we just had this is not the best example because not the American military, but Democracy Now! Just had a story today where like a prominent anti-immigrant like hate social media account was run by like an ICE official.
Yeah. Like, of course. All the people at Charlottesville, like they're all in the military. Like, you know what I mean? Like half the people that January 6th are all in the military. Like, it's not like for sure. Also, if Zelensky had a 5% approval rating, like he'd be dead already. Like somebody would have killed him. That's right next to him. They'd be like,
he would have gotten Yar Senward.
Like literally, he would have got Gaddafi like day 3. Like, like if nobody fucked with him to that extent, somebody that's right next to him doesn't fuck with him a lot, and he'd be dead already. But
yeah, I'm not saying his approval is 55%, but it definitely ain't 5%.
It definitely ain't 5%. But also, it's like, what is like your country was invaded, dude. Like the fact that they're still in the fight this long into the 3 years later. I mean, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it shows the Ukrainian, but like, I don't really like. I'm not gonna subscribe.
Yeah, I will just let me really fast. I promise. I think that the U.S. and Europe, especially the U.K. and especially the U.S. under Biden at least, and a lot of the neoliberals and the neocons were using Ukraine as a proxy war to deplete Russian, like defenses. And I think some of that's true. Like they were fighting the Ukrainians with Soviet era, weapons and tanks. And the Ukrainians were like, we call our sugar daddies NATO, and we hit you with them ACAMs, with the ATACMs, and whatever. And it's like, we've got it. So I think like a lot of things can be true at once. Like 1 in 100 Ukrainian soldiers probably don't fuck more than that. Probably don't fuck with black people that much. And also, like, Ukraine is like definitely being used by the West, and like, you know, they see a quid pro quo here to weaken Russia and, you know, get some economic benefit from that. So like that's all true, but like you can't hold that as like, okay, this is the reason for all of it happening, right? Like you have to put these in perspective and balance. Bam, I welcome your disagreement truly on this, especially.
Yeah, because I don't really agree with the proxy war angle, because Russia invaded, and I think that Russia knew that the West or NATO was going to help Ukraine. I think that Putin thought that he would be able to fulfill his goals like within 3 weeks or whatever he said, and it didn't work. But it's also not that surprising, because the Russian military is like famously bad, at least in modern times. Like it's famously like low morale and under-equipped, like famously. Even when they fought in Chechnya, I will never forget that there were so many stories of Russian soldiers begging in the streets for food in Grozny, because that's how their generals just threw them out there with no supplies, no food or anything. Just go shoot your gun until it's empty and hide somewhere, basically. And that's what they're doing in Ukraine too. They're releasing prisoners, and like, I'm just like, how embarrassing is it that you gotta literally bring in North Korean soldiers literally to fight in Russia against Ukrainian occupied, against Russian territory that is occupied by Ukraine. You're bringing in a North Korean soldiers, and they are also ineffective. Like, that's really embarrassing. I don't even like. So I don't know. I never really bought the like proxy war thing, because I'm like, well, he invaded. Like nobody told him to do it. Is he in on it too? Like, of course.
I don't think it's fully a proxy war, but I think that the America's
I've heard that. I've heard that though. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't subscribe to it's fully a proxy war. Like, you know, I will say that there was back and forth talks between, you know, Biden, Putin, Ukraine leading up to this, which is why leftists were so wrong in thinking that the Ukraine thing would happen. Me too. All of us, we were so wrong, loud and wrong, all of us, right?
And Biden, right. I'm mad about that still.
But, you know, that's because, and we can look back in history, there were talks happening in October, November, and before this that were like, you know, the exact things that are happening to it, I'm not going to recall in a platform where I could possibly misinform people. So like, you know, but like there were talks about, okay, Russia is trying to do this thing. America is like, okay, can we head this off at the pass diplomatically? And based on what I've heard on, you know, a couple of different shows from a couple of different perspectives that I'm still questioning how much I trust, right? Like those talks fell down and Putin was like, okay, fuck it, let's play hardball. And, you know, I just don't believe that wars are just one thing, especially when they're supported by other countries. Because, like, China and North Korea ain't got shit to do with Ukraine. For them, it is, you know, they are supporting Russia because they are betting against the United States. And that's fine. You know, on top level, that's fine, right? Like, I don't like the way they do it, but, you know, for every person a Russian oppresses or the Chinese government oppresses, I can point to the US government domestically and internationally for a similar thing. Okay. So like what I mean by all of that is that China and North Korea are playing realpolitik with this. They're like, okay, NATO, the United States are never going to be allies with us. So they're team red, we're team blue. And we're going to go with Russia because they're the ones who are, in a way that we can describe it, standing up against some power structure. I don't believe that, but like North Korea is deploying North Koreans to Russia because the Russians are getting mollywopped. The Chinese, the Iranians are providing weapons to Russia because they're getting mollywopped, right? And Ukraine would get mollywopped if NATO, the UK, the US, that entire apparatus were not also continually providing them with intelligence and money. I mean, not to complicate this even more, but Ukraine and Russia fight over who does and who doesn't get access to Elon Musk's Starlink internet service on the battlefield. Because at different times, Elon Musk has said, I'm neutral. I don't like war. Ukraine is good. We support Ukraine. Actually, I don't like what Zelensky is doing. Russia's actually giving me a better contract. So, like, that's all there, but that's separate, right? But I mean to say, like, sick people look at wars like this as proxy opportunities. And that doesn't mean it's the only thing. Because, for Ukraine, it's not like Zelensky went, I will get into war so that I can be used as proxy. Like, no. Like, that didn't happen. But Americans get to be like, okay, we can help Ukraine. And Ukraine, like, a Turkey, like an Israel, right, is a strategic location in a very bad place for us. And if we want to be emperors of the world, then we could work with that. So that's how they see Ukraine. Donald Trump is even like, okay, Ukraine, we'll give you a deal, but much like previous American governments have been like, we're going to denuclearize Ukraine in return for, protection. Donald Trump is like, okay, we'll protect you, but we're going to do it raw, as in the raw earth minerals that Ukraine has and the United States wants to own. So, I think it's nuanced. And another thing. No.
Is China giving Russia weapons? I didn't know if they were giving them weapons for real.
Yeah.
They are, okay. Well, they're not giving them enough, I guess. But
it's Iran is doing a good.
I know Iran's had provided drones, and North Korea did provide like some missiles, and now they're providing soldiers. I wasn't sure about China.
China and India are providing technology, and they're providing also ignoring U.S. Western sanctions on oil and gas and things that help bolster the Russian economy and therefore the Russian military. So I think and again, India, Trump did his whole little howdy Modi thing. So rule number 1 of Power Report: don't apply American politics to the Western world. Right. India is definitely. They're doing Modi's politicking. He's like, I hate China, but let's help Russia with this, and we just happen to be partners with China. America annoys me, and Russia hates America, but also I'm gonna pose with Trump, and I'm a slap ass with Tulsi Gabbard, and we're gonna do the whole thing, right? Like India is politicking. China is also politicking very much, but China just like has much more. I won't say much more, but I will say much more like ownership and military experience. Like I think that's it. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, the whole situation is. I mean, I still look at it as Putin just being dumb. Like I don't know what.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm just like, you're dumb, but here's the thing is, as of like for now,
dumb or hubristic, or both.
Both. They're synonyms, basically.
Valid.
I think that for now, the Russian military, or Putin, let's just say Putin, fuck it. Putin is doing fine because he's getting soldiers not from the big cities. Once you start having to dip into St. Petersburg and Moscow, then you got a problem. Like for now, he's getting soldiers from way out there, small towns, way out there. But once you start dipping into Moscow and St. Petersburg, those people will be on the streets.
They've been pulling prisoners from Moscow and St. Petersburg for the longest. But again,
I mean, like
prisoners.
Yeah, but if you start pulling like people, like those, like the people from there, it's going to be bad. And I think that he's aware of that. Like their strategy is like, I mean, they're basically drafting people to an extent. Like I think his strategy has been like, let's get the people that like, they don't really have any access to any center of influence. I don't know if he would have to do that anytime soon, but if he did have to start doing that, it's going to be bad for him. So maybe Putin is like, okay, let's like figure out a deal before I have to do that. But essentially, I think the most embarrassing part of it, one, that like you're sending people to die, like, which is just terrible. And like, it's just disgusting. And any leader, any head of state that like invaded another country, like, you're just disgusting, obviously. But just the fact that it's lasted this long, like, Ukraine didn't, like, no other country sent troops to Ukraine. Like, you're getting troops from North Korea, they're getting captured and shit. Like, they're literally talking about, yeah, I didn't know where the hell I was going. Like, somebody could argue, like, you're basically losing since you didn't win already. and for the first time since World War II, you have your land occupied, and your land has been occupied by little old Ukraine. That shit's embarrassing. You know what? I'll say this last. This war has been so bad for Putin that literally this war ended up dissolving one of his biggest arms of international influence, the Wagner Group.
Yeah.
This war did that.
And he had to do it himself. He was like, oh,
he
man.
had to kill the guy. Because this war, it dissolved, like, the Wagner Group, it was the Wagner Group in Africa. It wasn't
the
Russia.
Wagner Group in Syria.
Right. Like, you had to literally dissolve that entity and kill the guy because this war against Ukraine is going that bad. So kill yourself.
Whoa. Okay. No, yeah. Shout out to Bashar al-Assad hiding in that little
oh my God.
I hope he has someone taste testing his food. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's my nigga right there.
Whoa, man. Of course, the last 5 minutes of the show, Bam's like, you know what? Fuck Dan. I'm gonna say everything I can to get this demonetized. Fuck him.
Okay, first of all, you called me the N-word at least 5 times today.
Not hard. I never did hard R. Not this month. Not this month.
not this half of the month.
No, yeah, I am down to end on time, but I can milk 5 minutes out of you.
Okay, all right.
I'll hit on 2 stories very quickly. One, because Satchi added it and it's very good. Just for the record, we've got to focus on climate and, at least, cover it. And anytime you talk about climate on YouTube, the views go down, and you viewers need to think about that. But also it's the last 5 minutes of the show, so I won't feel that bad this time. Just noting that glaciers are basically losing 3 Olympic swimming pools worth per second since 2000. This is an issue. If you've ever swam in an Olympic pool, you'll know that that's an issue.
That's quite big.
Every second, like that's one of those things where, like, you can say the word trillion, but the word trillion doesn't capture how many zeros and how much wealth that is, right? So, like, 3 per second, like, Americans, football fields, units, whatever. That's insane. That's unacceptable. And there are conservatives, again, Ben Shapiro says, well, okay, well, if your house floods, just sell it.
I mean, not to make this like Southern California centric, but we had it was the hottest January ever on record. Which
I was
like
sweating
obvious.
Today.
Which was obvious, but it's going to hit like the 80s next week in February. So, like, these first 2 months have been ridiculous. We had like a few days of rain, but like it's going to be hot this weekend, like in the upper 70s, but it's going to hit the 80s next week.
We had wildfires in January.
Literally. So, yeah.
And by the way, to make this slightly more California centric for a minute, anyone who's driven up the 5 freeway through Southern California has seen all them farmer Republicans like, Trump's going to end the drought. Trump, like, the Democrats are creating all of the, we don't have water because of Democrats. Okay. Trump said release the pumps, and everyone in the army was like, we should absolutely not do this. Everyone in the government was like, we absolutely can't do this. But it's an order, so they did it. And guess what? All them same farmers are like, we may not have enough water for summer when the crops grow. Enjoy them eggs prices, motherfucker. Enjoy them grain prices. Enjoy them avocado. Oh, you white bitches love them avocados, don't you? Oh, that's gonna be real funny. That's gonna be real funny in a couple weeks, man. Just Bravo TV, watch what fucking happens. Okay. So, last story, Bolsonaro.
Oh God.
I end this on a light note because, again, not to relitigate anything, but this is what it's like when you have politicians who are like, oh yeah, no, fascists get the wall. Like we don't argue with that. We're not going to do these free speech democratic things with people who don't believe in democracy. Fuck them. Jair Bolsonaro has been charged over his alleged coup, trying to poison, and eventually, kill and topple over Lula da Silva. You're getting a similar thing in South Korea, where Yoon Suk-yeol is in court for criminal impeachment trials, and America, I mean, not anymore because of the Supreme Court and the way we have the Supreme Court, the federal court, etc. But to quote the old Fairly Odd Parents episode, this is your wish. To quote the term, this is your life. Okay, like these are choices. And these choices are not done by one particular party alone. They are done by one party being ruthless and the other party being complacent. In South Korea and in Lula da Silva, the opposition parties are at least 80% as ruthless as the ruthless parties who are trying to destroy the government. And so, Bam, I do want to give you your last word here, and I do mean last because I am pretty tired. But
well, I'll say this: I don't know. In Brazil, I can't speak for South Korea. I tried to keep up with that. I was lost. But in Brazil, I don't know if it's as much like Lula's party as much as it is like the actual courts, because they do have a pretty sophisticated court system in Brazil.
True. Yes.
And
I'll give you that. And
he did try to basically do a January 6th. It didn't work.
It January 6th failed spectacularly, but there were some really bad photos from it, and Ashley Babbitt got whacked, so there's that. But the Bolsonaro coup was silly. It was who are those sovereign citizens, the family that was just out there. Yeah, I forget their name, but they held a ranch for a couple months, and the
Bundy were they Bundy?
Yeah,
Bundy.
It was the Bundy. Yeah, it was the Bundy family, and they were just yeah, fuck the laws. And then the feds waited them out for a week and a half, and they're like, okay, you're done. I want Republicans especially to understand the Second Amendment gets you there. Right? That is the off ramp for what you believe the Second Amendment is. Read some Fred Hampton and then come back to me. But yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully, that'd be great if he goes to jail. I think that he can run. I think he can become president again. So it'd be nice if he can't run at all or goes to jail because he's a piece of shit. South Korea, sorry, but by my house, there's been every Saturday, a huge protest, a bunch of Koreans with Korean flags and American flags. I don't know exactly what they're protesting for. I don't think I'm allowed to go over there, but it's been ever since this situation with the president of South Korea. They've been doing it. So I don't know what side they're on or whatever, but I don't know.
I mean, what we saw were most South Koreans were no, I don't like that shit over there. So I've seen the things again, the French. If you Imagine if a Republican said, which happened, we're raising the age of Social Security qualification from 65 to 67. And we had 90s riots, like the Rodney King riots in the country that night. America won't do that because the American culture is subservient. And it's very much like,
I think it's France had a revolution of the people. America never had that. They think
America had a revolution of powerful people, of white male landowners.
For the bourgeoisie. They think they had a people's revolution. Never happened.
That's a take. I agree with that. Can we change that in the 21st century? I don't know. But
you got to end racism, and the only way to end racism is have mixed babies. So go out there and make you some mixed ass babies.
Anyways, I know that this is helping Bam Snow Bunny phase, but this has been your power report. Bam, Dan, Satchi, Christina, rest in peace to your grandma. Ray. Also, super last thing. Rayvana and I have hijacked the Audio Face channel to do a Severance rewatch podcast, the hottest show in America right now. We're covering it. We're going to be interviewing experts who know a lot about like neurology and the workplace and all these other different things that Severance talks about. It's not impossible that I can get some of the actors from Severance on the show. I have my connections. I will do it. Apparently I can't get into my congressperson's town hall, but I can get into the brains of some of the minds at Lumen. So praise Kier and check out the the Audio Face Severance series at youtube.com/audiofacepod. Rayvana and I are over there geeking out over the show, and we're gonna just level up the show and do some fun things with it. Plus music reviews exist over there too. But yeah, no, it's for everyone. Thank you everyone on the show who makes the show happen and makes the show possible. Thanks to all the viewers in the audience.
One last thing, Dan, do not text me after this about anything about this show. You better not do it.
Can I text you about things not about the show?
No.
When can I talk to you? Can I see your dick? This is PowerPoint. We're gonna go. Goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.